and welcome to the next reading of the Quarantine Theater Company. Tonight we are continuing our Star Trek journey with The Search for Spock, one of the best Star Trek movies. Joining us tonight, we've got a lovely crew with us. Bridget, I don't think you've been in one of our Trek reads before, have you?
I don't think so.
Have you? Yeah. Welcome to our Trek group. She will be doing our scene description tonight, and she's going to be our Sulu. So yay! Returning as Captain Kirk, the indomitable Logan. Also returning briefly as Spock, because we're all looking for him in this one. We've got Alexander. He's also going to be our, is it Krug or Kruge? I can't remember.
Krug.
It is Krug. Okay. And unfortunately, we've got Travis. I'm kidding. I love you, Travis. Travis is going to be reprising his role as Lieutenant Uhura. Jared's joining us tonight as Mr. Montgomery Scott. I will be reprising my role. Hi, this is a cat. He's not in this. Go away. Out. I will be reprising my role as Lieutenant Savick. And we've got Kate joining us tonight. Yay, welcome back, Kate. She's going to be our resident grumpy doctor, Bones McCoy. I love him. And then last but not least at all, we've got Ryan joining us. He is our Pavel Chekhov. Yay! Have fun, enjoy, and without further ado, take us away.
Star Trek III, The Search for Spock by Harve Bennett. Space, a starfield. As the stars appear, we hear the ambience of space, a litany of groans, squeals, and pings of the unknown. Over this, we, Super, Paramount Pictures presents. We are moving through the stars slowly and to our right as the Super fades, and we hear a hoarse voice.
Space, the final frontier.
Our move continues to reveal the Genesis planet and its sun, which flares into our lens.
These are the continuing voyages of the Starship Enterprise, her ongoing mission.
The sun flare has dissolved us to the planet's primal surface. We are moving through the trees and greens of this Eden-like place. A soft, smoky haze covers everything.
To explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life forms and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
And now, amid the trees, we see it, and camera comes to a brief rest. Spock's casket, a photon torpedo tube, black with red letters. Mark 6. The Star Trek fanfare is heard, and we, Super, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The credits begin. As they appear, we move away from the casket and through the lush forest. The haze thickens until at last it becomes an obliterating cloud, and then we dissolve through into moving clouds of the planet's atmosphere and pull back from them, dissolving once again back to space and the Genesis planet, where we hold as credits end. Then, a final Super. Continued. The Genesis planet. Stardate 8001.3. We hear the sound of an approaching spaceship. Space. USS Grissom. A mid-sized Federation science vessel, approaching at impulse power. She passes camera, and we pan with her to see her path leads to the Genesis planet in the distance. Interior bridge, USS Grissom. Starfleet Lieutenant Savick, looking radiant, is wearing her hair down these days, but is as intense and efficient as ever. The crackle of electronic activity fills the air.
Hold on, my hair's down. There we go. We are approaching destination planet at 0.035, so noted in the ship's log.
She delivers the log to the captain as angle widens to include Captain Esteban, late 40s, a cautious Starfleet veteran. Behind him, various officers on station.
Very well, Lieutenant. Execute standard orbital approach.
Standard orbit, aye.
Communications. Send a coded message for Starfleet Commander, Priority 1. Federation Science Vessel Grissom arriving Genesis planet, Mutara sector to begin search. As ordered, full security procedures are in effect. JT Esteban commanding.
Aye, sir. Coding now.
Dr. Marcus, it's your planet.
Angle widens to reveal David Marcus, mid-20s, who will be remembered as the co-creator of Genesis and also as Kirk's son.
Thank you, Captain. Begin scanning, please.
Savick has taken a position next to David at the science panel, and together they begin activating the devices.
This is where the fun begins, Savick.
Like your father, so human. All units functional. Recorders are on. Scanning sector 1. Foliage in fully developed state of growth. Temperature 22.2 Celsius.
Sector 2, indicating desert terrain, minimal vegetation, temperature 39.4.
Sector 3, subtropical vegetation, temperature decreasing rapidly.
It's snow. Snow in the same sector. Fantastic.
Fascinating.
All the varieties of land and weather known to Earth within a few hours' walk.
You must be very proud of what you and your mother have created.
It's a little early to celebrate. Suddenly,
Beep, beep, beep. A new and unique sound is heard from the monitors. Savick flicks controls and a new image appears on screen.
Same sector, metallic mass.
underground deposit?
Negative. On surface, manufactured object.
There's only one thing it could be. Short-range scan.
Savick complies. David's intensity rises. Captain Esteban, curious about the beeps, has joined them.
Approximately 2 meters long, cylindrical in form.
Photon tube.
Could it be Spock's?
It has to be. Gravitational fields were in flux. It must have soft landed.
In code to Starfleet. Captain Spock tube located intact on Genesis surface. We'll relay more data on subsequent orbits.
Yes, sir. Coding your message.
As the beeps diminish, we hold on David and Savick. There's mystery in the air. Space, USS Enterprise. She comes at us slowly, majestically, a great wounded bird limping home, showing, as she passes, the patched scars of battle. Over this we hear,
USS Enterprise, Captain's personal log. With most of our battle damage repaired, we are almost home. Yet I feel uneasy. I wonder why.
Interior bridge, USS Enterprise, close, James T. Kirk. He is stalking the bridge, lost in his thoughts. Camera is moving with him. In background, bridge activity is normal.
Perhaps it is the erratic behavior of the ship's surgeon McCoy, or the emptiness of this vessel. Most of our trainee crew have been reassigned. Captain Savick and my son David are exploring a new world. And Enterprise feels like a house with all the children gone. No, more empty even than that.
He has reached Spock's vacant chair. He touches it.
The news of Spock's tube has shaken me. It seems that I have left the noblest part of myself back there, on that newborn planet.
We hold on him. Then he shakes off his mood and,
Status, Mr. Sulu?
wider angle to include Sulu and Chekhov at forward stations. Uhura at the communications post. On course, Admiral. Estimating space dock in 2.1 hours.
Very well. Mr. Chekhov, I need a pre-approach scan. Take the science station, please.
Chekhov hesitates for a moment. Then
Yes, sir.
he rises and crosses to Spock's empty chair as Kirk continues.
Ahura, any response from Starfleet on our Project Genesis inquiries?
No, sir. No response.
Very odd. Scotty, progress report.
Interior engineering tube. Scotty and an engineer trainee are working at the junction of circuitry.
It's almost done, sir. You'll be fully automated by the time we dock.
Intercut with bridge.
Your timing is excellent, Mr. Scott. You fixed the barn door after the horse had come home. How much refit time till we make it out, or till we take her out again?
8 weeks, sir. But I know you don't have 8 weeks, so I'll do it for you in 2.
Mr. Scott, have you always multiplied your repair estimates by a factor of 4?
Certainly, sir. How else can I keep my reputation as a miracle worker?
Your reputation is secure, Scotty. Mr. Sulu, take the con. I'll be in my quarters.
Aye, sir. Kirk heads for the elevator, presses the door button. He's about to enter when he is intercepted by trainee Foster, a young black officer too eager for protocol.
Sir, I was wondering,
Kirk turns.
are they planning a ceremony when we get in? I mean, a reception?
The hero's welcome, son. Is that what you'd like? Well, God knows there should be. This time we paid for the party with our dearest blood.
He enters the elevator and the doors close. Interior elevator, Kirk. Even as the doors close, his mood changes. The mantle of command falls away, and he allows himself the luxury of his deeper feelings of aloneness and grief. Camera in close to hold this anguished moment. Then, an intrusive interruption. Kirk covers his feelings as wider angle. The elevator doors open at a floor, and Bones McCoy steps in. He is disheveled, unshaven, and in a very odd emotional place. He takes his place in the elevator and gazes at the ceiling as the doors close and the hum begins.
Bones,
Jim,
are you planning on shaving today?
Vadis, Admiral,
What is that supposed to mean?
what is our destination?
We're orbiting Earth in 2 hours.
And we're headed in the wrong direction.
Bones, don't do this. This is me, Jim, your friend.
And I have been, and always shall be, yours.
Damn it, Bones, don't quote Spock to me. I have enough pain of my own, and I don't need your self-indulgence.
Bones, his eyes far away, turns to make contact, in a matter-of-fact voice.
You left me. You left me on Genesis. Why did you do that?
What the hell are you saying?
Even Bones is stunned by what has come out of his mouth. He tries to cope with his own disorientation.
I don't know. Why did we leave Spock?
Bones, you must deal with the truth. He's gone. Spock is gone, and we both have to live with that.
Bones looks at Kirk for an agonized moment. Then the elevator comes to a stop. The doors open. McCoy takes a step out, then turns back to Kirk.
I can't get him out of my head, Jim. I'd give the whole state of Georgia if someone could tell me why.
McCoy leaves. The doors close on Jim Kirk's concern. Space, a starfield. Over the vast emptiness we super, somewhere in Organian space. As the super fades, a vessel drifts slowly into scene, a dark lurking merchantman. She gives the impression of drifting in space, of waiting. Interior bridge, merchantman. Small and grubby, populated by 3 or 4 crewmen of mixed special breeds, and a renegade captain who suggests a Federation traitor. And lurking in the shadows, her face concealed by a half veil, what appears to be an exotically beautiful woman of epic proportions and mystery.
Steady. Steady, boys. Keep scanning. I thought you people were reliable. Where the hell is he?
He has been here for some time. I can feel his presence.
Don't give me your Klingon mumbo jumbo. There ain't another vessel in this whole damn quadrant.
Put me on hailing frequency.
Holy moly. Sure. Games you want to play.
He shakes his head and presses a button and nods to her. She now removes the veil, showing us a fascinating face of Klingon features. The crew stare at her as she speaks into a communication device. She is oddly unemotional.
Commander Crew, this is Valkyris. I've obtained the Federation data and ready to transmit.
Interior bridge, bird of prey, cloak effect. Close, Krug's pet. A shot cut to a frightening creature, half timberwolf, half lizard. His head is being rubbed by the hand of the owner. We pan up from the beast with Krug's hand as it snaps switches.
Well done, Valkyries. Stand by.
The pan continues upward to reveal Battle Commander Kruge, a Klingon warlord of handsome but frightening presence and relative youth. Now, in Klingon,
Disengage cloaking device.
there is a light change from cloak to decloaked condition, along with electronic whirring sounds. Camera pulls back from man and beats during this to reveal the entire Klingon bridge, which suggests the relationship of galley master to slave. Space. We are shooting past the merchantman in the foreground to watch the strange and gradual appearance of a vessel. Close angle, bird of prey. Breathtaking, skeletally at first, then filled in a section at a time. A small, deadly-looking warship forms. It is the bird of prey, a long-necked, scary-looking thing, with variable wing attitude, which we will see in time. Interior bridge, the merchantman.
What the hell?
As he and the crew try to comprehend, a commanding voice on speakers.
Well done, Valkyries. Transmit data on my command. Now!
The woman leans to the console. She inserts a small rectangular object and presses a button. Interior bridge, bird of prey. Kruge rises from his regal station, crosses to a monitor where Officer Maltz adjusts incoming material. We cannot see clearly what is coming in, but occasional images suggest material concerning the Genesis project. As the high-speed transmission ends,
Transmission completed. You will find it essential to your mission.
Maltz hands Krug the completed recording. Krug taps it thoughtfully.
Then you have seen it.
I have, my lord.
That is unfortunate.
I understand.
Krug has a moment of hesitation. Then, to his helmsman,
Thrusters.
exterior bird of prey. The variable wings begin to dip like hawk's talons, and the bird begins an arcing maneuver. Interior merchantman. Uncertainty. The captain turns to the woman.
What's going on? When do we get paid off?
Soon, Captain. Quite soon. Success, my lord. And my love.
Interior bird of prey. Close. Krug.
You will be remembered with honor. Fire!
Space. The two vessels. The bird of prey, its wings in the menacing attack position, swoops towards the merchant ship. From the two claw-like tips of the bird of prey, phaser beams of a new type erupt, sizzle. Explosions rip the outside of the merchantman. Interior merchantman. Explosions and smoky cloud the murky and smoke cloud the murky small bridge. The cries of the crew, the captain's screams of outrage, and through it all, in the smoke, the woman's face, unperturbed. As a last act, she ritualistically covers her face with her veil as she is enveloped in smoke and flames. Interior bird of prey. The screams and cries of the merchant crew can be heard. The captain's voice rises above all these.
For God's sake, help us, please. We'll keep the damn secrets. Just don't let us die in space.
Krug turns impassively to his gunner and nods. The gunner presses the firing button. Space, the vessels. The Klingon bird fires another salvo. The merchantman is obliterated. Debris floats through the shot. Interior bridge, bird of prey. The screams have stopped. Krug's beats reacts with pleasure. Officer Maltz observes this, subtly wipes his forehead, but making sure Krug doesn't see him. Krug pets his beast, then straightens, recording in hand.
I'll be in my quarters. Execute course to the Federation boundary.
Yes, my lord.
As Krug starts out, the beast growls. Krug stops, points a finger at a Klingon in the subdeck below.
Feed him!
The Klingon nods vigorously as Krug exits, then, with his commander gone, casts a nervous glance beastward. Crewman's POV, the snarling beats. A face only a Klingon could love. Exterior space, the Genesis planet. Into shot comes USS Grissom, orbiting. Interior bridge, Grissom, close. Science monitor. Much visual display and beeping. Pull back to find Savick, David, with Esteban over their shoulders.
New orbit commencing. Coming up on Sector 3.
Short range scan.
As before. Metallic mass. Verifying tritium photon 2. No data. No new data.
Check for trace radiation, infrared enhancement.
Radiation residual level is minimal.
Suddenly, the beeps are joined in harmony by a new and subtly different sound. Savik looks at David, who moves closer to her screen, studying it with growing intensity as she adjusts the controls, and the sound increases in volume.
I don't believe it.
What is it?
If equipment is functioning properly, indications are an animal life form.
You said there wouldn't be any.
There shouldn't be any. Only plant forms were built into the Genesis matrix.
Cross-referenced and verified. An unidentified life form reading.
Do you wish to advise Starfleet, sir?
Wait a minute. We don't know what we're talking about here.
Why don't we beam it up?
Oh, no, you don't. Regulations specifically state nothing shall be beamed aboard until danger of contamination has been eliminated. Can you guarantee that?
Not from here, no.
Captain, the logical alternative is obvious. Beaming down to the surface is permitted.
If the captain decides that mission is vital and reasonably free of danger. I know the book, Savik.
Captain, please. We'll take the risk. We've got to find out what it is.
Or who?
The implication is not lost on Esteban. After a moment,
All right, get your gear. I'll put you down next time around.
Thank you, sir.
exterior space, the Earth, orbiting space dock. With the grandeur of the horizon arc of the great blue marble as the backdrop, space dock orbits. Into shot comes Enterprise, heading toward the waiting port. Interior bridge, USS Enterprise. The bustle and crackling sounds of approach procedure. Kirk is in the captain's chair. All others are on stations. Scotty has come up from below to watch the show.
Stand by automatic approach system. Advise approach control.
Approach control. This is Enterprise, ready for docking maneuver.
Enterprise is cleared to dock.
Lock on.
Systems locked. The bridge lights change to docking mode.
Space dock, you have control.
Affirmative, Enterprise. Enjoy the ride and welcome home.
Enterprise confirms. With thanks.
Exterior space dock, series of shots. The slowly rotating space dock is huge. Enterprise is coming in on an arc-like course. The great doors of approach threshold 15 slide open. Enterprise, with unerring precision, slips from space into the small opening afforded by the doors, and interior space dock, series of shots. A huge cavernous area, designed as an orbital dock for many space vessels. We see Enterprise entering this great warehouse of ships through the doors and proceed at slow impulse power to her waiting berth. Another angle. Introducing NX-2000, Excelsior, a super starship. Her lines are similar to Enterprise, but she is clearly bigger, sleeker, and very new. She sits at her mooring like the new queen of space. Interior Enterprise bridge, favoring view screen. The Excelsior is on screen for all to see.
Would you look at that?
My friends, the great experiment. Excelsior. Ready for trial runs.
She's supposed to have transwarp drive.
Aye, and if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon.
Mr. Scott.
I'm sorry, sir, but as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing needed for space travel this old girl doesn't already have.
Come, Scotty. Young minds, fresh ideas. Be tolerant.
Interior space dock, the cafeteria. Through the window of a space dock facility, a few lounging Starfleet persons look up to see a memorable sight. Battle-scarred Enterprise is passing alongside of the sleek Excelsior. Their size differential is apparent, B-29 to B-17. Yet, Enterprise carries with her a battle-scarred history of achievement. Some of the Starfleet people begin to rise silently. A standing ovation for a hero's return. Interior Enterprise bridge, favoring Kirk. Enterprise, Stand by for final docking procedure.
Standing by. Mr. Sulu, activate moorings, standby umbilical and gravitational support systems.
Aye, sir. Moorings activated. All systems standing by.
Admiral, this is not possible.
Mr. Chekhov?
An energy reading from C deck, from inside Mr. Spock's quarters.
Mr. Chekhov, I ordered Mr. Spock's quarters sealed.
Yes, sir. I sealed the room myself. Nevertheless, I am reading a life form there.
Kirk rises on the narrow edge of irritation.
Mr. Chekhov, this entire crew seems on the edge of obsessive behavior concerning Mr. Spock. I'll have a look. Mr. Sulu, continue docking procedures.
He exits as the rest of the crew reacts. Chekhov shrugs to all, indicating that he sees what he sees. And the camera moves close to his panel to verify his belief. On screen, an energy form is definitely pulsating. Interior Enterprise corridor on elevator doors. As they hiss open and Kirk appears. A soft alarm is beeping off screen. Kirk assesses this, his mood changing to puzzled concern. He starts purposefully out of shot. Corridor sector, tracking with Kirk. He's walking quickly. As the alarm sound increases in frequency, he reacts, breaks into a trot, camera speeding up with him until he arrives at the entrance to Spock's quarters. He examines with shock. A sealant coating over the door has been forced with indications of great strength. The alarm continues, loud now. Kirk turns it off with a touch, then cautiously starts in, convinced the problem is real. Interior Spock's quarters, low-key lighting. It is dark and shadowy as Kirk enters. He peers, trying to adjust his eyesight to the darkness. He steps forward carefully, trips temporarily on some small object, but recovers. He moves slowly inward, then stops, staring into the impenetrable dark. Then he reacts, as we hear Spock's voice. It is hoarse, raspy, as it was in the final scene with Kirk in Star Trek II, but is unmistakably Spock.
Jim, help me. Take me up the steps of Mount Salea, through the hall of ancient thought.
Close, Kirk. Shaken now, he strains into the darkness, looking Kirk's POV. Camera pans the darkened room and comes to rest as we see a shadowy figure in the far corner. Back to Kirk. As he starts forward, all senses alert. As he nears the figure, whoever it is starts to flee, and Kirk grapples with him, like Jacob with the dark angel. And Kirk pulls him down, panting, and the figure is illuminated by a shaft of light, and it is Bones McCoy, emotionally drained, eyes wide.
Bones, what the hell are you doing? Have you lost your mind?
That's McCoy's line.
I think that's McCoy.
Where are we? Sorry, if it doesn't say McCoy, I don't know where we are.
It says, "Help me, Jim."
Okay. Underneath that? That's where we are. No. Yes. There we go.
Yes, look, there's a play button.
There's not one. Help me, Jim. Take me home.
That's where we are, Bones. We are home.
McCoy, then perhaps. Oh, I think that's McCoy's line right there.
Then perhaps there is still time. Climb the steps, Jim. Climb the steps of Mount Salea.
Mount Salea, Bones, Mount Salea is on Vulcan. We're home on Earth.
Bones looks at him, trying to comprehend. When he opens his mouth, it is, for one brief moment, Spock's voice that emerges.
Remember. Remember.
Kirk stares at him in shock as
Admiral, docking is complete. Starfleet Commander Morrow is on his way for inspection.
Kirk, still holding McCoy.
Ahura, get the medics down here. Get them now.
He cradles McCoy, who has gone limp.
Bones, it's all right.
As he holds his friend, rocking him gently, we overlap the shrill sound of an electronic boatswain's pipe. Interior Enterprise Torpedo Bay, docking chamber. The entire crew is assembled as the sound of the pipe finishes and the great docking doors open. Tut! Starfleet Commander Morrow enters, a distinguished-looking black man followed by an aide. He crosses to Kirk at the head of the review line.
Welcome aboard, Admiral.
Welcome home, Jim.
He reaches for Kirk's shoulders with affection.
Well done.
He embraces Kirk. It is both a military courtesy and a personal expression. 25 years of comradeship, service, and sacrifice. Kirk is moved. When the embrace breaks,
Thank you, sir. I take it this is not a formal inspection.
a relieved ripple of laughter from all.
No. At ease, everyone.
They relax in the glow of Morrow's smile, and he looks about.
Where's Dr. McCoy?
Indisposed, sir.
Ah, too bad. Well, you all have done a remarkable service under the most difficult of conditions. You'll be receiving Starfleet's highest commendations and, more importantly, extended shore leave.
A buzz of approval. Then,
That is all but you, Mr. Scott. They need your wisdom on the new Excelsior. Report here tomorrow as Captain of Engineering.
it is clear how Scotty feels about this honor.
With all appreciation, sure, sir. I'd prefer to supervise the refit of the Enterprise.
Yes, well, that really won't be necessary.
But sir, this refit will take a practiced hand. There's much to do. It could be months.
No, Mr. Scott, I'm sorry. There isn't going to be a refit.
A pall in the room. Kirk, as shocked as anyone.
Admiral, I don't understand. The Enterprise.
Jim, the Enterprise is 20 years old. We think her day is over.
But we had requested. We were hoping to take her back to Genesis.
Genesis? Whatever for?
I had natural desire to help finish the work we began.
That's out of the question. No one is going to Genesis.
I ask why.
Jim, in your absence, Genesis has become a galactic controversy. Until the Federation Council makes policy, you are all under orders not to discuss it with anyone. Your knowledge of Genesis. Consider it a quarantine planet and a forbidden subject.
On their baffled reactions, exterior space, the bird of prey. We are tracking with her through space. She's quite visible, her wings in level configuration. Interior bridge, bird of prey, very close, monitor. At first, we are disoriented. Jim Kirk's image fills the screen, talking right at us.
To fully understand the events on which I report, it is necessary to review the theoretical data on the Genesis device.
We are pulling back. The bridge is lit normally. On screen, Kirk's voice now continues, describing what we see, molecular charts, followed by a barren graphic depiction of a planetoid. Toward it, a torpedo arcs, causing fire, inferno, and a resulting new surface, capable of bearing life. Computer graphic Star Trek II. This is being watched on the bridge by Krug, Maltz, and Officer Torg, younger than Maltz, more gung-ho. Intercut, the Genesis tape. With the reactions of the two junior officers seeing it for the first time. Back to scene. Krug turns the machine off. He studies the two officers, then with quiet intensity.
So, speak. Now.
Right power to control, dominate, destroy. If it works, Krug considers the answer. I don't think that's fine.
Speak.
Krug considers the answer, turns to Maltz.
Speak.
Impressive. They can't make planets. Possibilities are endless. Colonies, resources.
Yes. New cities, homes in the country, your woman at your side, children playing at your feet, and overhead, fluttering in the breeze, the flag of the Federation. Charming. Station.
Yes, my lord.
Maltz snaps to and leaves, chastened. Krug turns to Torg like a wily serpent.
It works. Oh, yes, it works.
He presses a button and a new visual appears. Kirk's voice heard over.
It was this premature detonation of the Genesis device that resulted in the creation of the Genesis planet.
We see Enterprise fleeing the Genesis explosion. Stock, Star Trek II. Torg is very impressed. Krug turns the visual off. Then, importantly,
Share this with no one.
Understood, my lord.
We are going to this planet. Even as our emissaries negotiate for peace with the Federation, we will act for the preservation of our race. We will seize the secret of this weapon, the secret of ultimate power.
Success, my lord.
Station.
Torg crosses out. Krug turns toward his chair, kneels to pet his beast as we hear.
My lord, approaching Federation territory.
Steady on course. Engage cloaking device.
Cloaking device. Engaged.
Lights change. Electronic sound begins. And exterior space, bird of prey. The ship sectionally vanishes before our eyes. Cut to space, the Genesis planet. USS Grissom is orbiting. We hear
Transporter room, stand by to energize.
exterior surface of the Genesis planet, beam down effect. We are panning. An area of great primal beauty, poetic, romantic. A smoky haze persists. The pan stops as we hear a familiar energy sound, and Savick and David begin to appear in the beam down effect. Closer angle, Savick and David, fully materialized. They are equipped with scientific backpacks. Their tricorders beep reassuringly as they look about.
Savick to Grissom. Request computer study of soil samples for geological aging.
I'll handle that later.
My readings indicate great instability.
We're not here to investigate geological aging. We're here to find life forms.
His tricorder bleeps.
Come on.
Savick reacts to his tension with a questioning look. Then they move off. Interior Grissom Bridge, favoring Esteban. Intercut with Savick. He and his officers are monitoring the progress of the landing party. Data sounds fill the bridge. Then Lieutenant Hines points something out on a view screen.
Grissom to landing party. We have you approaching radioactive indications. Do you concur?
Affirmative, Captain. Our readings are well below danger level.
Very well. Exercise caution, Lieutenant. This landing captain's discretion, and I'm the one who's out on a limb.
I'll try to remember that, Captain.
Exterior Genesis planet, high shot, Spock's glade, day. David is in the lead, a distant figure, then stops to take readings as Savick catches up to him. Then together, they start forward toward us. As they approach, high camera now lowers until it reveals, in foreground, Spock's casket. Exterior Genesis planet, series of shots. The two explorers take readings. They begin to realize what they are heading for. Their tempo increases. They follow their tricorders until exterior Genesis, Spock's casket in foreground. Savick and David come into view, close by, and stop seeing it.
Spock's tube.
David.
He joins her, staring at POV Spock's casket. At the base of the tube, worm-like forms shimmy and squirm. They are small, horrible, and unquestionably alive. Savick and David. They try to maintain their scientific objectivity in spite of their horror and their disappointment at not finding some trace of Spock.
Well, there's your life form reading. These were microbes on the tube's surface. We shot them here from Enterprise. They were fruitful and multiplied.
But how could they have evolved so quickly?
David doesn't answer, his curiosity caught by something else. He starts slowly forward, Savick following close. Their tricorders begin to register higher radiation levels as they approach the tube. Series of shots. David and Savick's faces as they approach. Feet step among the wormy creatures to gain access to the tube. Even the unemotional Savick reacts to this. David reaches the tube, raises the lid of Spock's beer. He looks inside and sees David's POV into Spock's casket. It is empty. except for some kind of rumpled black cloth. Back to David. He reacts, stunned.
Savick, he's gone.
He reaches in, withdraws the shroud-like cloth, and hands it to Savick. As she touches, she knows.
What is it?
Spock's burial robe.
As they stare at each other without answers, the planet makes a gentle rumbling sound. Then the ground quivers slightly, and in the far distance, a poignant cry is heard. A young animal in pain, perhaps. Savick and David do not know. Cut to interior Kirk's apartment, view of the bay, night. Tranquil, we hear the sounds of harbor and distant city. We are pulling back, past Kirk, as he stares quietly at the view, a glass in hand. Then he turns round, raises his glass in a toast.
Absent friends.
Angle widens to include Uhura, Chekhov, and Sulu, who toast in response and drink. Admiral, what's going to happen to Enterprise?
It's going to be decommissioned.
Will we get another ship?
I can't get an answer. Starfleet is up to its brass in galactic conference. No one has time for those who only stand and wait.
Kirk sips his drink thoughtfully, as do all. Then,
Where's Dr. McCoy, sir?
That's the good news. He's home in bed full of tranquilizers, and he promised me he'd stay there. Say it's exhaustion. We'll see.
a door chime.
Ah, Mr. Scott, fresh from the world of transwarp drive. Come.
They all turn toward the door. We hear it whir open. Off screen, their expressions change and they stare at their POV angle toward the door. A tall, mysterious figure in a hooded Vulcan robe walks slowly toward us, then stops. Close, face unseen. Is it Bones? A Spock apparition? The figure removes his hood, revealing a distinguished older features of back to group favoring Kirk.
Sarek.
A hush of wonder falls over all. The angle widens as Ambassador Sarek comes to Kirk.
Ambassador, I had no idea you were here. I think you know my crew.
I will speak with you alone, Kirk.
Kirk turns to his crew. They look at him questioningly.
Excuse us, please.
The crew, their concern showing, leave their glasses and file out. Sarek steps to the bay window, looks out in contemplation, his back to Kirk. With the others gone, Kirk comes up behind Sarek. A pause. Then,
Sarek, I would have come to Vulcan to express my deepest sympathies.
Spare me your human platitudes, Kirk. I have been to your government. I have seen the Genesis information and your own report.
You know how bravely your son met his death.
Met his death? How could you, his friend, have assumed that? Why did you leave him on Genesis? Spock trusted you, and you denied him his future.
I saw no future.
You missed the point then and now. Only his body was in death, Kirk, and you were the last one to be with him.
Yes, I was.
Then you must know that you should have come with him to Vulcan.
But why?
Because he asked you to. He entrusted you with his very essence, with everything was not of the body. He asked you to bring him to us, and to bring that which he gave you, his Katra, his living spirit.
Sir, your son meant more to me than you can know. I'd have given my life if it would have saved his. You must believe me when I tell you that he made no request of me.
He would not have spoken of it openly.
Then how?
Kirk, I must have your thoughts. May I join your mind?
Of course.
Sarek steps close to Kirk as camera pushes in very close. Sarek's hands are on Kirk's temples in familiar splayed fashion, and the eyes of both men are closed. Mind meld sequence. This can be literal, or can be illustrated by subliminal film from Trek 2. To be determined. Strange sub-musical sounds underscore. The music of Vulcan, unlike anything we have ever heard before. After a moment,
You spoke of your friendship,
Yes.
asked you not to grieve.
Yes.
The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
or the one.
Spock.
I have been and always shall be your friend. Live long and prosper.
No.
Kirk, bathed with sweat, suddenly shudders in pain. Sarek opens his eyes, removes his hands. He touches Kirk with gentleness as Jim recovers, opens his eyes. Engel, Sarek, and Kirk.
Forgive me. It is not here. I assumed he had mind melded with you. It is the Vulcan way when the body's end is near.
He couldn't touch me. We were separated.
I see. And I understand. Then everything that he was, everything that he knew, is lost. And when I return home empty-handed, many shall mourn.
He turns now, starting for the door. Kirk stops him with an agonized wail.
Please wait. Surely he would have found a way. If there was so much at stake, Spock would have found a way.
Yes, but how?
Sarek. What if he melded with someone else?
On their exchange of looks, interior small electronic center. We are very close on an electronic screen. There is the frozen face of Spock with his hand splayed on the engine room glass. A mechanical voice tells us. Engine room. Flight recorder visual. Stardate 8128.78. 0.78. 0.78.
0.77. It begins to speed backwards in a scrambled image.
Reverse angle. Close. Kirk. Intercut with screen. His face intense. The sound of backward tape is heard. Then it stops. On screen, Spock and Kirk in their final conversation. Kirk watches a moment, painfully, then breaks off.
Back. 0.76. The computer responds. More backward sound than...
Flight recorder visual. Stardate 8128.76. 0.76.
Go.
The tape activates. On screen, we watch Spock enter the engine room, go to the console. He makes a few adjustments, then heads for the radiation room where he's intercepted by McCoy. Kirk stares in growing fascination. McCoy talks to Spock briefly. Spock tricks McCoy into looking away, then applies the Vulcan nerve pinch. Bones falls. On screen, Spock moves close to McCoy, takes gloves from the unconscious Scott, then places his hand on McCoy's temple.
Remember.
Hold.
He stares at the frozen image, then...
Augment and repeat.
The camera zooms in, a tight two-shot. The action repeats.
Remember.
Freeze.
The image of the critical mind meld is there to see. Kirk is stunned. Camera angle widens now, to reveal for the first time that Sarek is with Kirk in the shadowy room.
Bones.
One alive, one not, yet both in pain.
What must I do?
You must bring them to Mount Selaya on Vulcan. Only there is the passage possible. Only there can both find peace.
What you ask is difficult.
You will find a way, Kirk. If you honor them both, you must.
Kirk looks at the screen, examines all that is clear to him, and accepts the truth of Sarek's challenge.
I will. I swear.
Over his determined face, we hear a weird overlapped sound, the strange cry of pain from the Genesis planet. Cut to exterior Genesis planet, Area 2. A different texture than the Spock blade, cactus growth, seeming desert, yet slightly gnarled, slightly off. Over this empty landscape, there's another trembling of the earth, and again, the cry. Up-angled, Area 2. The sound of running footsteps. Then David and Savick run into shot, staring off screen as the cry repeats itself. They stare off screen and see their POV vista. Past the tall cactus in foreground, we see snow-covered terrain in the middle distance. The cry is heard once more.
We hear it whenever the ground quakes.
David's tricorder is making life form sounds. Savick whips out her communicator.
Captain, this is Savick. We have strong life readings bearing 015 relative, and we are proceeding to investigate.
We concur, Savick. And Savick, be advised we are reading a severe and unnatural age curve on the planet. I'm getting nervous.
Do you have an explanation?
Later. Let's go.
Grissom, your message is acknowledged. Will advise. Out.
And she hurries after David. Interior bridge, Grissom, favoring Esteban.
USS Grissom, out. What the hell's going on down there?
Exterior Genesis planet, Area 3, snowscape. David leading, Savick catching up as they enter a snow-covered patch of ground. Camera tracks with them now as the wind begins to howl, and the first visible snowflakes begin to fall. As the wind and snow increase, causing them to hold their hands up against the elements, they stop and stare outward. Their POV. In the snow-covered landscape ahead of them, a series of tracks, small, indeterminate. They lead ahead. Back to Savick and David. They respond. The wind howls, but they start forward. Cut to Interior Starfleet's Officers' Lounge. Admiral Morrow, night.
No, absolutely not, Jim. It's out of the question.
Angle has widened to include Kirk, a passionate Kirk.
Harry, I'm off the record now. I'm not speaking as one of your staff. I'm talking about 30 years of service. I have to do this, Harry. That's to do with my honor, my life, everything I put any value on.
The intimacy of the conversation is broken by a Starfleet steward who bears drinks. Kirk sits in frustrated suspension until the steward leaves. Then Kirk tries to resume his plea, but Morrow stays him.
Jim, you are my best officer, and if I had a best friend, you'd be that too. And I'm a commander, Starfleet, so I don't break the rules.
Don't quote rules, Harry. We're talking about loyalty and sacrifice. One man who died for us, another who has deep emotional damage.
Now, wait a minute. This is about Spock and McCoy. Honestly, I've never understood Vulcan mysticism. I worry. I am sorry, but part of me doesn't want you to make a fool of yourself. Understand?
Harry, you don't have to believe. I'm not even sure I believe. But if there's a chance that Spock has an eternal soul, then that is my responsibility.
Yours?
As surely as if it were my own. Harry, give me back the Enterprise. With Scotty's help.
No, Jim. Enterprise would never stand the pounding.
Then I'll find a ship. I'll hire a ship.
Out of the question. The Council has ordered that no one but the science team goes to Genesis.
Then let me speak to the Council. Harry, please, I can make them understand.
Kirk's voice and passion has risen enough to now gather a response from neighboring tables. Kirk realizes. He checks himself, draws slightly back. Morrow is firm.
No, you understand. The Council has its hands full with the Klingons and the Romulans. They're trying to hammer out a treaty on the Genesis device, and they haven't got the time for your personal views on friendship and metaphysics. Jim, your life and your career stand for rationality, not intellectual chaos. Keep up this emotional behavior and you'll lose everything. You'll destroy yourself. Do you hear me, Jim?
Kirk looks for a long moment, then sighs, his body sagging.
Yes, I hear you. I just had to try.
Of course. Now take my suggestion. Enjoy your leave. Let all this tension blow away.
You're right. Thanks for the drink.
Anytime.
Kirk rises with a smile, starts out, hold on Morrow. Moving with Kirk. He crosses the room filled with Starfleet senior officers, camera tracking until he passes out of the main room, into the entry room, where we are surprised to see Sulu and Chekhov waiting for him conspiratorially. Kirk stops close to them, looks about cautiously. The word, sir?
The word is no. I'm therefore going anyway.
Count on our help, sir.
I need it, Sulu.
Shall I alert Dr. McCoy?
Yes. He has a long journey ahead.
Interior bar, night. A crowded, smoke-filled watering hole of the 23rd century, filled with a smattering of civilians, Starfleet personnel, and visitors from strange and far-off civilizations. It does not have the bizarre qualities of the Star Wars bar, which is across the street. McCoy is discovered entering the bar. He's haggard, less than clean shaved. He appears to be looking for something as he starts forward. His POV moving through the bar. Noting patrons at the 23rd century equivalent of video games, darts, we see two people playing at a holographic version of a video game, in which World War I biplanes are engaged in 3D combat, and a dart player throwing pneumatic jet-propelled darts. Back to McCoy, 81. I don't know what 81 is. Not finding what he is looking for. He settles into a small alcove. A seedy but attractive waitress arrives.
Long time, Doc.
Yeah. Anyone been looking for me?
I have, but what's the use? Willoughby.
That water? Especially carbonated from underground fissures.
Not your usual poison.
To expect one to order poison in the bar is not logical. Excuse me, I'm on medication.
Got it.
She leaves. McCoy scans the room. He picks out someone approaching. Angle, the alien. An exotic-looking grubby fellow with a big grin, making his way unmistakably to McCoy's booth. Pull back with him as he reaches it and slides in ebulliently.
Hello. Welcome to your planet.
Boy, that's your line.
Sorry, I was looking 2 lines down. I think that's my line, stranger.
Oh, forgive. I hear him new. But you are known being McCoy from Enterprise.
You have me at a disadvantage, sir. You are...
I name that important. You seek I. Message received. Available ship stands by.
Good. How soon and how much?
How soon is now? How much is where?
Where?
Is yes, where?
We're in the Mutara sector.
Ooh, Mutara restricted. Take permits many, money more.
There aren't going to be any damn permits.
Hmm.
How can you get a permit to do a damn illegal thing? Look, price you name, money I got.
You name place, I name money. Otherwise, bargain no.
All right, damn it, it's Genesis. The name of the place we're going is Genesis.
Genesis?
Genesis, yes. How can you be deaf with ears like that?
Genesis allowed is not. His planet's forbidden.
Now listen to me, my backwards friend. Genesis may be planet forbidden, but I'm damn well...
McCoy is interrupted by a hand on his arm. He looks up to see a nondescript-looking civilian with a gentle, ingratiating manner.
Sir, I'm sorry, but your voice is carrying. I don't think you want to be discussing this subject in public.
I'll discuss what I like, and who the hell are you?
Could I offer you a ride home, Dr. McCoy?
Where's the logic in offering me a ride home, you idiot? If I wanted a ride home, would I be trying to charter a space flight? How the hell do you know who I am?
Federation security, sir.
It's a bad moment for the agent to have announced himself. A desperate Bones releases the alien and rises to his feet just as the waitress arrives with his Altair water on a tray. The Altair water spills on the alien. Series of cuts. The alien, hit by the water, leaps to his feet in rage. The waitress is knocked into a group of people. More spilling of drinks. A bystander, thinking the alien hit the waitress, hits him. A general scuffle begins. Meanwhile, McCoy tries to race around the civilians' end of the confusion. But the agent, very big, grabs him. Bones, in confusion and panic, suddenly turns, wild-eyed, and attempts a Vulcan nerve pinch on his tormentor. The nerve pinch has absolutely no effect, and the agent stares at Bones for a long moment.
You're going to get a nice long rest, Doctor.
He ushers Bones out as the brouhaha continues in the background. Cut to exterior Genesis planet, Area 3, snowscape. It is snowing now, and the wind wails as Savick and David appear and come forward into a close shot. The life sign sound of their tricorder is beeping faster now as they peer ahead into the snow. Then Savick suddenly points. POV through the snowfall. Something alive moves across the front, obscured by snow, snow and terrain. Back to them, moving camera. As they start forward into the snow, Savick drawing her phaser. They peer ahead, seeing nothing but the bleep of their tricorder, which they follow like a beacon. Their POV moving through the snow flurry catches an occasional hint of something ahead which spurs them on. Then, with the tricorder beep indicating very close proximity, they stop and intuitively Savick indicates to David to turn the tricorder off. As the beep stops, they listen and hear the tiniest of whimpers amid the wind. They start out excitedly, the crevice and intercut POVs. As Savick and David approach, stop, tricorder back on, big reading. They step forward through the snow flurry to see interior crevice, the boy. A wild thing with scraggly hair, perhaps 9 or 10 years old. He covers his nakedness as he shivers in the cold, clutching an injured leg. He watches the strangers and their beeping machine in hypnotic fear. The scene, in the crevice. At Savik's gesture, David turns off his tricorder. Savick moves close. As she touches the boy's leg, he pulls back, and she reaches out to his face and touches his cheek softly. He accepts watchfully. Then Savick slides her hand slowly and parts the scraggly hair. The boy is a Vulcan. Savick and David exchange an astonished look. Then she covers the boy with Spock's robe, and in Vulcan,
Nashva Savek, Muklek tu Staribin.
the boy does not respond. Savick looks to David.
The Genesis wave. His cells could have been regenerated, reformed.
Quietly, so as not to alarm the boy, Savick opens her communicator and reports softly.
Captain, this is Savik. Come in, please.
Yes, Savick, go ahead.
We have found the life sign. It is a Vulcan child, perhaps 8 to 10 years of age.
A child? That's extraordinary. How did he get there?
It is Dr. Marcus's opinion that that the Gen effect has in some way regenerated Captain Spock.
Interior bridge, Grissom, favoring Esteban, intercut with planet. There is a moment of uncertainty between Esteban and his science officers that should be one of the grand laughs of this film.
Savick, that's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Request permission to beam aboard immediately.
Savick, does Dr. Marcus think there could be any chance of radioactive contamination?
None that I can detect, sir.
Well, all the same, I'm going to advise Starfleet and get instructions.
On the planet, Savick and David exchange a frustrated look.
I'm sure Starfleet would approve, sir.
I know, but let's do it by the book. Stand by on this channel. Go.
Starfleet Command, this is the USS Grissom on subspace coded channel 98.8. Come in, please.
There is an odd sound on the speakers. Below, David and Savick wait impatiently. Then, on the bridge,
Sir, something's jamming our transmission. An energy surge.
Locate.
Surge from astern, sir. Aft quarter.
On screen.
on monitor, a star field appears with some kind of energy interference. A heat-like distortion of one area of the picture is evident. Then suddenly, by means of the decloaking effect, the bird of prey is dead on at a close range in attack configuration.
Oh my God.
Interior bridge, bird of prey, favoring Krug.
Tube 1, target. Engine section only.
Ready.
Space, bird of prey stalks Grissom. Back to bridge, Grissom. Intercut with planet and bird of prey.
Red alert, raise shields.
Captain, what's happening?
We are under attack. Stand by for evasive. Stand by for
Interior bird of prey.
fire.
Exterior space, Grissom foreground, bird of prey, close background. The bird fires a Klingon photon torpedo, which whooshes the relatively short distance to the peaceful Grissom and, shockingly, blows her to bits with one shot. The Genesis planet, Savick, David, the boy.
Captain, come in, Captain.
Interior bridge, bird of prey. Krug turns to his gunner.
I told you. Engine station only.
Krug's beast growls.
A fortunate mistake, sir.
I wanted prisoners.
The beast growls again as Krug, in a rage, pulls out his phaser and fires, obliterating the gunner. No one in the crew seems to take this as unusual behavior, and Krug adds, for his own justification,
Animal.
Krug's beast adds his contempt to the message. as Krug stalks from his chair.
Sir, may I suggest?
Say the wrong thing, Torg, and I will kill you too.
I only meant, my lord, if it's prisoners you want, there are life signs on the planet. Perhaps they're the very scientists you seek.
Krug cocks an eye, examines the screen.
Very good.
Genesis planet, the crevice.
Grissom, this is Savick on emergency frequency. Come in, please.
Static is heard on her communicator. She folds it closed in resignation. That unnerves David.
Savick. My God, what happened to them?
It would seem that the Grissom was destroyed by an enemy attack.
You mean we're stranded down here?
Logic indicates that is the case.
How can you be logical at a time like this? We have to get the hell off this planet.
That may be difficult.
Why don't you just call for help?
I already made one. Transmission too many.
David looks at her, understanding now, looks away in despair. He covers his face with his hands now.
It's time for total truth between us. This planet is not what you intended or hoped for, is it?
Not exactly.
Why?
I used protomatter in the Genesis matrix.
Protomatter, an unstable substance which every ethical scientist in the galaxy has denounced as dangerously unpredictable?
It was the only way to solve certain problems.
Did your collaborator know?
My mother knew nothing about it. That's why I asked her to leave Genesis in my hands.
So, like your father, you changed the rules.
If I hadn't, it might have been years. Or never.
And how many have paid the price for your impatience? How many have died? How much damage have you done? And what is yet to come?
David looks at her, accepting the truth of what she says. Cut to interior prison cell, close shot, night. Bones McCoy is lying on a cot. We are not yet certain of his mental state, though he looks like a man with a very bad hangover. From off screen.
You got a visitor, Doc. Make it quick, Admiral. They're moving him to the Federation Funny Farm.
Angle towards cell door. Kirk and Guard 1 stand in the doorway, which is framed by line of light indicating a force field. Kirk is in civilian clothes.
Yes, poor friend. Here he's fruity as a nutcake.
2 minutes.
The guard places an electronic key against a plate on the wall. Force light blinks out. As Kirk enters the cell, the guard reactivates the force field and leaves. Kirk moves quickly to Bones, kneeling beside him.
M.
How many fingers up?
Kirk holds up his hand in the Vulcan salute, fingers splayed.
That's not very damn funny.
Good, your sense of humor's returned.
The hell it has.
Kirk withdraws syringe.
What's that?
Lexerin.
Lexerin? What for?
You're suffering from a Vulcan mind melt, Doctor.
Spock?
That's right.
That green-blooded son of a bitch. It's his revenge for all the arguments he's lost.
Give me your arm. This will make you well enough to travel. How do you do this anyway?
Interior prison outer office. Angle and entry door. Night. A second guard is on duty with Guard 1 as the door slides open and Sulu enters with some urgency. Where's Admiral Kirk?
He's with the prisoner.
Get him quickly. Commander Starfleet wants him right away. Guard 1 fishes for his electronic key and leaves. Guard 2, a big, paunchy man, stretches his girth and yawns. Keeping you busy?
Don't get smart, Tiny.
Cell entry at doorway. Guard 1 applies his device to the cell electronic plate. Force fields blink out.
Admiral, Starfleet is...
This man is sick. Look at him.
As the guard moves to Bones, Kirk drops him with a martial chop.
Can you move? Bones, can you move?
Yeah, that's great stuff.
And they start out of shot. Prison office. A buzzing is heard from the guard's console. Guard 2 picks up an earpiece, like Uhura's, holds it to ear, and answers.
6th floor holding. Yeah, come up and get him. His visitor's just leaving. What? Well, some admiral name of Kirk? Well, how am I supposed to know? He's a damn admiral. He's got a toupee.
He unplugs furiously, rises determinedly, and starts for the door, which, just before he reaches it, slides open, revealing Kirk and Bones.
What the hell's going on?
He's cut short by a savage martial chop delivered by Sulu from behind.
Oh.
The side elevator. Agents on their way up. Kirk nods and, followed by Bones, moves to the outer door, opens it, and they hurry out. Meanwhile, Sulu has stepped to the master console, a bank of flashing lights and comm equipment. He reaches underneath with an electronic device, then steps back as the entire console shorts itself to oblivion in a shower of sparks and electronic pain. Sulu starts out of the room, but cannot resist stopping for a split second over the fallen body of Guard 2. Don't call me tiny. As Sulu hurries after the others, we push gently to the fallen giant, sleeping peacefully. Interior elevator. Sulu, Bones, Kirk. Kirk whips out his communicator as they descend.
Unit 2, this is 1. Kobayashi Maru has set sail for the promised land. Acknowledge.
Message acknowledged. All units will be informed.
Kirk flips his communicator closed. McCoy raises an eyebrow. McCoy, that's you.
You're taking me to the promised land?
What are friends for?
Interior space dock, USS Excelsior. The new Queen of Space is quietly docked, floodlit like a great monument, but essentially in bed for the night. Interior deserted corridor, Excelsior. Mr. Scott, looking cautiously around, stands by the elevator door in an empty corridor. The elevator door opens, and as Scott is preparing to step in, Captain Stiles steps out. Stiles is an officer about Kirk's age. If he's a little stuffy, it's pardonable. He does, after all, have the plum assignment in all of Starfleet.
Ah, Mr. Scott, calling it a night.
Ah, yes, Captain.
Ah, turning in myself. Looking forward to breaking some of Enterprise's speed records tomorrow.
Ah, yes, sir. Good night.
Ah,
The doors of the elevators close, leaving Scotty alone inside. A slightly condescending male voice says, "Level, please."
Transporter room.
Thank you.
Up your shaft.
Interior space dock on USS Enterprise. In contrast to Excelsior, she seems a ghost ship, unlit and without signs of activity. Interior transporter room, Enterprise. Eerie, dark. A mysterious hand throws a switch at the transporter panel, and the resulting glow reveals Chekhov. A beaming sound is heard, and Mr. Scott materializes on a pad.
Welcome home, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Chekhov. Let's get some life in the old girl.
Interior, a shabby transporter station, on Uhura, night.
Roger. Old city station at 2200 hours. All is well.
She releases comm and methodically begins adjusting controls on her console as camera widens to reveal a lanky, cynical Starfleet lieutenant in his early 20s. He leans back in his chair, hands clasped behind his head.
You amaze me, Commander.
Mm-hmm. How's that?
20-year space veterans, yet you ask for the worst duty station in town. I mean, look at this place. High end of space.
Peace and quiet appeals to me, Lieutenant. Depending on the night.
Well, maybe that's okay for someone whose career is winding down, but me, ugh, God, I need some challenge in my life, some adventure. Even just a surprise or two.
You know what they say, Lieutenant? Careful what you wish for. You may get it.
The entry door slides open and Kirk, Bones, and Sulu hurry in and begin walking without hesitation toward the pods.
Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening, Commander. Everything ready?
Yes, Admiral. Step into my parlor.
The parade of purposeful men passes the befuddled lieutenant, as if he weren't there. He watches as they settle themselves into the pods, while Uhura busies herself with the setting of controls. He crosses with concern to where she's working so efficiently.
Commander, these are some of the most famous people in Starfleet. Admiral Kirk, my God!
Good for you, Lieutenant.
It's damn irregular, no destination orders, no encoded ID.
All true.
Well, what are we going to do about it?
I'm going to do nothing about it. You're going to sit in the closet.
The closet? Have you lost all sense of reality?
Yes, this isn't reality. This is fantasy.
With that, Uhura turns, a phaser leveled.
You want adventure? How's... Are not dogs in it? How's the old adrenaline going, good boy? Now get in the closet.
He backs into it, disappears inside, and she closes the door from her panel.
I'm glad you're on our side.
You'll be able to handle that?
Oh, I'll have Mr. Adventure eaten out of my hand, and I'll see you at the Revenus. All
The
my hope.
rendezvous.
Rendezvous!
Excuse me, I'm old. Rendezvous. All my hopes.
It might be older. She smiles and activates the beam. They wave back to her until they are gone.
We're recording.
Interior Space Dock Enterprise. Camera pushes toward the darkened bridge section as energizer and electronic sounds are heard, and suddenly from within, the lights begin to go on. Interior bridge Enterpriser. Enterprise elevator doors. They open, and Kirk, Bones, and Sulu appear on the bridge where activity is now bustling thanks to Scotty and Chekhov. Scotty turns an informal salute.
As promised, she's all yours, sir. All systems automated and ready. A chimpanzee and 2 trainees could run her.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I'll try not to take that personally. My friends, I can't ask you to go any further. Dr. McCoy and I have to do this. The rest of you do not.
Admiral, we're losing precious time.
What course, please, Admiral?
Mr. Scott?
I'd be grateful, Admiral, if you'd give the word.
Gentlemen, may the wind be at our backs. Stations, please.
As they reach stations, we are on Kirk as a series of orders and responses are given.
Clear our moorings, engage auto systems, 1/4 impulse power.
Interior Space Dock Enterprise. The scarred noble vessel begins to move slowly, impulse rockets whooshing intermittently. Interior Space Dock, the cafeteria. It's darkened now and empty. A lone cleaning man works among the stacked tables behind him. As behind him, in the great window, Enterprise begins backing away from Excelsior like a mouse tiptoeing away from a sleeping cat. The cleaning man looks up in surprise. What the hell's going on? Interior Space Dock Enterprise. Backing slowly into the last third of the great dock and the great closed doors through which she must pass. Interior Enterprise Bridge. 1 minute to space doors.
You just gonna walk through them?
Calm yourself, Bones.
Sir, Commander Starfleet on emergency channel. He orders you to surrender this vessel.
No reply, Chekhov. Continue on course.
Interior Excelsior, Captain's quarters, close, Styles. Sleeping, he's jarred awake by an alarm klaxon. Then,
Yellow alert. Captain to the bridge. Yellow alert.
Styles fumbles to consciousness, not pleased to be awakened. He gropes for a comm button.
Bridge, this is the captain. How can you have a yellow alert in space dock?
Someone is stealing the Enterprise.
Styles' mouth drops open. Then,
On my way.
Interior Bridge, Enterprise. 30 seconds to space doors.
Sir, Excelsior is powering up with orders to pursue.
My God, she's gaining on us just sitting there.
Interior Excelsior Bridge. Doors open. Styles strides in, buttoning tunic.
Status.
All automates ready and functioning. Automatic moorings retracted. All speeds available through transwarp drive.
Incredible machine. Helmsman, 1/4 impulse power.
Interior Space Dock Excelsior. As she moves away, heading forward, looking faster than Enterprise even in low speed. Interior Space Dock Enterprise foreground, the space doors. They are closed and approaching. Interior Enterprise Bridge.
Steady. Steady. All right, Mr. Scott.
Sir?
The doors, Mr. Scott!
This is not lost on Bones, but Scotty is too busy to panic. rolling in numbers on his console coolly.
Yes, sir. Working on it.
He presses a final button, looks up at the screen as interior space dock, the doors. They slide slowly open just in time to allow Enterprise a narrow passage out into space. Back to the bridge. We have cleared space doors.
Full impulse power.
Exterior space dock, Enterprise. Picks up speed and exits the shot, but Excelsior is seen now exiting the space doors and coming on. Interior bridge, Excelsior, favoring Styles.
Enterprise maintaining full impulse power.
And we are gaining. Stand by tractor beam.
Tractor beam, aye.
If he tries to get away with warp drive, he's really in for a shock.
Space, beyond the Earth. Enterprise first. Excelsior clearly closing the gap. Enterprise bridge.
Excelsior closing to 4,000 meters, sir.
Scott, we need everything we've got now.
Aye, sir. Warp drive is standing by.
Excelsior bridge, Styles.
Kirk, you do this, you'll never sit in the captain chair again.
Back to Seed.
Warp speed, Mr. Sulu.
Aye, sir. Warp speed. He moves his control. Sound builds. And exterior space, Enterprise. The warp drive explodes her forward and out of view. Interior Excelsior bridge favoring Styles.
No way, Kirk. Prepare for warp speed. Stand by trans warp drive.
Appropriate klaxons and sounds prepare the ship. The helmsman completes his presets and nods to the first.
Transwarp at your command, sir.
Execute.
There is a massive buildup of sounds, and then a sudden series of bangs, shakes, coughs, and wheels, as if the ship had hit a series of potholes in space. Space, Excelsior. She begins to shake and vibrate, shuddering her way through space. Interior Excelsior bridge. Strange, impotent sounds no one of them has heard before, and on Styles' face, absolute bafflement. Interior bridge, Enterprise. Except for the puzzled McCoy, there seems to be quiet satisfaction on the Enterprise. Excelsior, the great experiment, is adrift in space.
Mr. Scott, as good as your word.
Aye, sir. The more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. Here, doctor, a souvenir as one surgeon to another.
He hands McCoy a tiny microchip. McCoy looks up bewildered, still shaky from the chase.
I took it out of her main warp drive computer drive.
Nice of you to tell me in advance.
That's what you get for missing staff meetings, Doctor. Gentlemen, your work today was outstanding. I intend to recommend all of you for promotion in whatever fleet we end up serving.
There are smiles, but sober ones, and Kirk puts his hand on Sulu's shoulder as he says,
Best speed to Genesis.
Space, Enterprise. Responding to Sulu's touch, she speeds off. Space, the Genesis planet. The bird of prey is orbiting. Interior bridge, bird of prey. Maltz and a half dozen Klingons are on station under Torg. The young officer leans into a monitor with interest. We see two blips there, one converging on the other. Exterior Genesis planet, Spock's Glade, close tracking. We are on a Klingon tricorder which is beeping excitedly. Widened to see that it is in Krug's hand as he advances rapidly through the oddly changed glade. Spock's Glade wider, still tracking. A sergeant and one crewman are with Krug on the planet, always a half step behind his brisk pace. The tricorder's beeping increases with each step. Then abruptly, the planetary rumble is heard, and the Klingons and camera stop, listening to the rumble. The Earth shakes. As it does, a hideous, high-pitched squeal is heard. Nearby, off-screen, this is different than the cry we have heard on the planet. As the surface stops shaking, the squeal tapers off, but the tricorder beeps remain very active. Krug, his curiosity inflamed, starts forward out of shot, the others following. Exterior Spock's Glade, full. The Spock casket is in the foreground. Camera rises now as the Klingons approach the casket, stop short in surprise as they see shot cut, close casket. Where the squiggly forms once were, now horrible 4-foot-long serpentine things rise, cobra-like, hissing and squealing. Back to scene. Krug is impassive, the others a little shocked. The sergeant pulls his phaser, but Krug stops him with a hand. Now Krug regards the serpents, then steps forward to them. He does this with total arrogance to reassert his bravery to the crew. Camera pulls with Krug. He smiles as he reaches the casket. Then he reaches into the group of serpents. Scene, Krug and the serpents. Krug grasps one of the elusive things, brings it close for study. This has the macho quality of a bullfighter getting within an inch of the bull. The crew watches breathlessly. Then suddenly, the thing makes a squid-like coiling motion and wraps itself around Krug's neck and right arm. It's squeezing hard. The crew reacts, but are wisely stayed by the sergeant. This is the boss's show. Krug responds in a worthy manner. Even though the thing is coiling tightly, Krug exerts all the strength he has in what he correctly guesses to be the creature's jugular. The creature pops, its strength collapses, and it slithers down and falls away from its conqueror. He takes a moment to enjoy the crew's reaction. Then,
Bridge, nothing of consequence here. I'm resuming search.
the light around him begins to change dramatically. He looks up and reacts to high, full Genesis Peak. The highest promontory on the small planet gives us a view of the sunlight terminator line, the line between day and night, as on the moon, rolling forward on the terrain below, where we now know the Klingons are. Sunlight is being replaced by night with the rolling motion. Close, David. The POV has been his. He watches in wonder as the day-night line crosses him in a light change. He stands, turns, and looks behind him to see Genesis Peak full. The highest plateau is turned into night to complete the cycle. We now see this area for the first time as the starlight begins to fill it. A rocky, craggy place with giant tree roots and gnarled shapes everywhere. Back to David. He reacts in wonder. Interior the cave at Genesis Peak. Close, moving, night. Savick is ministering to the off-screen boy. We do not yet see his face. We hear his soft sounds, the aftermath of cries which we heard earlier. Camera continues moving as Savick takes off her tunic and throws it as an added cover on the off-screen figure. Then she stops, looks at the boy in wonder as camera completes its arc to reveal the boy. We are shocked to see the boy has changed. He is now unquestionably older, perhaps 13 or 14. He is breathing heavily as the pain recedes.
Sleep.
She rises and slowly steals out. Hold on the boy. Exterior Genesis promontory, close, David, night. Looking out over the darkened planet, lost in thought, widened to admit Savick. She too looks outward. A distant, faint rumble. No tremor felt. Then,
This planet is aging in surges.
And Spock with it. They are joined together.
Savick steps forward, seeking eye contact and an explanation. David looks at her now.
Genesis wave started a life clock ticking for him and the planet. But at the rate things are going now,
How long?
days, maybe hours, protomatter has made the situation unpredictable. I'm sorry.
It will be hardest on Spock. Soon he will feel the burning of his Vulcan blood.
I don't understand.
Ponfar. Vulcan males must endure it every 7th year of their adult life.
I still don't.
But his tricorder is beeping faintly. He checks it.
Wherever they are, they're getting closer.
I'll go.
No, I'll do it. Give me your phaser.
Their eyes meet. She gives him the phaser. Then he hurries out. Hold on Savick. Slightest rumble of the planet. Concern. Is another surge coming? Cut to exterior space. Enterprise en route. She passes us at high speed. Interior Enterprise bridge. Around Kirk is his new formation. Chekhov is at the comm station. Sulu at the helm. Next to him, Scott on weapons engineering. And at the Spock science post, well, we haven't seen yet. Estimating Genesis 2.9 hours, present speed.
Can we hold speed, Mr. Scott?
Aye, sir. She's got her second wind now.
Scan for vessels in pursuit.
Scanning. Indications negative at this time.
You could drop a pin. Everyone turns to Spock's station. Angle favoring Bones.
Did I get it right?
You did, Bones. Just great.
Sir, Starfleet calling Grissom again. A warning about us.
Responds?
Nothing, as before.
What's Grissom up to? Will they join us or fire on us? Check off break radio silence. Send my compliments to Captain Esteban.
Aye, sir.
Chekhov begins calling as Kirk crosses easily to McCoy.
How we doing?
How are we doing? Funny you should put it quite that way, Jim. We are doing fine, but I'd feel safer giving him one of my kidneys than what's scrambled in my brain.
Admiral, there's no response from Grissom on any channel.
Keep trying, Chekhov, at regular intervals.
Cut to exterior promontory, close, Savick. She has fallen asleep in her exhaustion. There's a faint sound of tricorder life signs beeping. She slumbers through this. Then the planet begins to tremble. A rumble. An off-screen cry, which by now we know is from the young Spock. Savick shakes herself, wakes up not knowing what has just happened. The first thing she's aware of is the beeping tricorder. She checks it, uncertain, then pulls her communicator.
David, this is Savick. Come in.
There is static, and no response. Then the planet trembles again, and there is a definite off-screen cry. Savick reacts in alarm, hurries out of scene as the rumbling and the cries continue. Interior entrance to the cave, night. As Savick appears in the opening, we hear the off-screen cries of pain from the boy as Savick watches, sympathetic but helpless. As the cries subside, there are no more rumblings. Savick takes a few steps inside. She sees her POV, the young man. Hunched down in a corner, his face turned away from us, is Spock. He is now in some kind of awful spasm. Back to Savick. She studies what she sees. She understands. His cry of rage now splits the air and the young Spock. He turns to camera suddenly, a young man in his late teens, lean of face, high of cheekbone. The look on this tortured face and his body language tell us he is fighting for control of body and his world. He is fevered and shuddering. He looks at Savick with wild eyes, which are both frightened and frightening. Savick. She approaches him cautiously, but with absolute understanding. She stops a step away from him.
So it has come.
Spock hears, but does not understand.
It is the Ponfar.
He stares.
Ponfar.
Her voice has calmed him some. She takes the last step and is now close to him. Calmly, and in Vulcan.
I'm getting attacked by cat here. Dunji du Safrafel Nashve.
Spock does not respond. He's in quiet agony. She kneels beside him. His breathing is labored. Savick offers her hand in Ponfar configuration, like a two-finger Boy Scout salute. Spock studies it. Then she brings up his right hand in the same configuration. With her two extended fingers, she touches his and then slowly begins to stroke his entire hand in gentle foreplay. His breathing eases now. His body begins to relax. Uncertainly, he begins to return the finger play, first on Savick's hand and then on her temples. He is more in control now, intense. His eyes turn and lock on hers, hands touching. They move together until their faces are brushing, and their fingers embrace. Cut to space, the stars. A moment of soft space ambience. Then Enterprise glides silently into shot. Interior Enterprise bridge, favoring Sulu. We are secured from warp speed. Now entering Genesis sector of Mutara Quadrant.
What about Grissom, Mr. Chekhov?
Still no response, sir.
Bones, can you give me a quadrant buy scan?
McCoy hunches forward at the science station, but his lack of understanding is clear.
I think you just exceeded my capability.
Chekhov.
With an understanding nod, Chekhov crosses towards the science station to take over.
Sorry.
Your time is coming, Doctor. Mr. Sulu, proceed at impulse power.
Interior bridge, bird of prey, close, monitor screen. An object appears, accompanied by a soft alarm. Pull back. The screen is being watched by Maltz, who reacts.
God damn it, Travis.
Travis.
Maltz,
Oh yes. Hello there. Vessel entering sector. Torg has come up. Bends over. Whoa.
Travis.
bends over screen.
Yes, Federation battle cruiser. Have they scanned us?
Not yet.
Engage cloaking device.
The sounds and lights of cloaking begin. Interior cave, Genesis, close, the young Spock. Morning light is streaming in. His eyes are closed. He breathes calmly. A hand, Savik's, enters shot to soothe his brow and smooth his matted hair. Savik, a softer look than we have seen before, but a look of concern and apprehension. She sighs, then picks up communicator. She's about to transmit a message when an instinct makes her put it down, turn to the cave entrance. We pan with her, look, to cave entry, low. There, a pair of Klingon boots stand. Back to Savik. She reacts, starts to rise, when Klingon hands grab her, pull her to her feet. Camera whip pans to young Spock, who opens his eyes with a start, stares in confusion, then hands grab him and... Exterior, the promontory, full day. Outside the cave, the Klingon landing party waits. Here, amid gnarled and stone formations, Savik and the young Spock are forcibly pulled from the cave and hurled at the feet of Krug. A slow pan up reveals the Klingon, his patience strained.
So, I've come a long way for the power of Genesis, and what do I find?
At his gesture, David is thrust forward and thrown among the other two. David showed signs of having been roughed up by the Klingons.
A weakling human, a Vulcan boy, and a woman.
Savik, assessing the desperate situation, takes her best shot.
My lord, we are survivors of a doomed expedition. This planet will destroy itself within hours. The Genesis experiment is a failure.
A failure. The most powerful destructive force ever created. You will tell me the secret of the Genesis torpedo.
I have no knowledge.
Then I hope pain is something you enjoy.
The sergeant steps forward, communicator in hand.
My lord.
Krug snatches the communicator, barks into it.
I ordered no interruptions.
But sir, Federation starship approaching.
For Savik and David, a moment of hope.
Bring me up.
We're on Savik and David and the uncomprehending Vulcan as the sound and reflected light of a beam-up take place. Interior Enterprise bridge favoring Chekhov. At the science station, the blue light of the scanner flickering on his face.
I'd swear something was there, sir, but I might have imagined it.
What did you see, Chekhov?
For an instant, a scout-class vessel.
Could be Grisham. Patch and a hailing frequency. USS Grisham, this is the Enterprise calling. Come in, please.
Exterior promontory, the Klingon camp, favoring David, Savik, and the Vulcan. They hear the voice over the sergeant's communicator.
Grissom, this is the Enterprise calling. Do you read?
For David, it is the voice of his father and rescue. For Savik, it is a possibility, just out of reach. Interior bridge, bird of prey, cloaked lighting effect. The doors slam open as Krug hurries into scene.
Battle alert.
The klaxon sound in the background.
Say again, Grissom, this is the Enterprise. Admiral Kirk calling Captain Esteban or Lieutenant Savik. Come in.
Report status.
We are cloaked. Enemy closing on impulse power. Range 5,000 telecams.
Good. This is the turn of luck I've been waiting for.
Exterior space, Enterprise against stars. Coming toward us, apparently a sitting duck. Interior bridge, Enterprise.
Nothing on my scanner, sir.
Short-range scan, Mr. Chekhov. On screen, Mr. Sulu.
Angle favoring view screen. A view of the approaching Genesis planet appears. The planet off to the side. The other 2/3 of the screen appear to be normal starfield space. That is, except for one odd area, slightly diffused, which only the sharp-eyed might notice. Interior bird of prey.
Range 3,000 telecams.
Steady. Continue on impulse power.
Yes, sir.
Range 2,000 telecams.
Stand by to transfer energy to weapons. At my command.
Exterior space, POV of Enterprise, moving toward her. Smoothly, we are stalking the Enterprise. Interior Enterprise bridge, including view screen. Kirk is studying the projected image.
There. That distortion.
We see on the screen a kind of heat wave effect we saw once before when Grissom bought it. But Grissom did not have Kirk.
See? The shimmering area.
Yes, sir. It's getting larger as we close in. Interior bird of prey.
Firing range, sir.
Gunner, sight target. Disabling only. Understood?
Understood clearly, sir.
The beast growls. Interior Enterprise bridge.
That distortion is closing rapidly. Opinion, Sulu?
I think it's an energy form, sir.
Yes, enough energy to hide a ship, wouldn't you say?
A cloaking device?
Red alert, Mr. Scott.
The klaxons begin. The lights dim to red. Interior bird of prey.
1,000 Calicams closing.
Wait.
Interior
Wait.
Enterprise bridge. Bathed in combat red light.
Mr. Scott, all power to the weapon system.
I think we lost Mr. Scott.
Aye, sir.
No shields?
My guess is right. They'll have to decloak before they can fire.
May all your guesses be right.
Mr. Scott, two photon torpedoes at the ready. Sight on the center of the mass.
Aye, sir.
Interior bridge. Bird of prey.
$500 Calicams.
Damn it, Maltz. Stand by torpedoes. Decloak.
The sounds and lights which accompany this, and exterior space, bird of prey. The ship begins to decloak. Interior Enterprise bridge, favoring view screen, where the bird of prey appears exactly in the spot anticipated. Klingon bird of prey, sir. She's arming torpedoes.
Fire, Mr. Scott.
Exterior space, series of shots. The Enterprise fires 2 torpedoes. They impact on the bird of prey in separate explosions. The displacement of the explosions caused the Klingon ship to turn and be pushed back, as if by thrusters. Interior bird of prey. As explosions shake the bridge, filling it with smoke and debris, and cries of the injured. And suddenly, close, Krug's outraged face appears, smudged by an explosion. Interior Enterprise bridge. All lean forward towards the off-screen view screen.
Good shooting, Scotty.
Aye. Those 2 hits should stop a horse, let alone a bird.
Precautionary, Mr. Chekhov. Shields up.
Aye, sir.
Interior bird of prey bridge. Amid the shouts and the orders in Klingon, a disoriented Krug wanders just for a moment until he almost stumbles across something. It is a body. He looks to see. Krug's BOV. His beast, dead. Back to scene. A passion of rage. He's back to his instincts now.
Sir, the cloaking device is destroyed.
Never mind. Emergency power to the thrusters.
Yes, my lord.
Interior Enterprise bridge, favoring Chekhov. He shows growing concern.
Sir, the shields, non-responsive.
Scotty.
The automation system's overloaded. I didn't expect to take us into combat, you know.
He begins hitting buttons. Interior bird of prey bridge.
Lateral thrust. Stand by weapons.
Exterior space, the bird of prey. The thrusters stabilize her turning and backward movement. She is now lined up with a splendid angle on Enterprise. Interior bird of prey, Krug.
Fire.
Exterior bird of prey, fires torpedoes. Interior Enterprise bridge.
Torpedoes coming in.
Exterior space, Enterprise. As she shudders and tilts with the hits and the flashes of flame. Interior Enterprise bridge tilted. A blast hits. Scotty's panel sizzles. Lights out.
Emergency power.
The lights return. Emergency mode. The ship rights itself. Kirk has been knocked down. Bones to him.
I'm all right. Stand by to return fire. Mr. Scott, transfer power to the phaser banks.
Oh, God, sir, I didn't think so.
What's wrong?
Yeah, they knocked out the damn automation center. Got no control over anything.
Kirk pales. Looks quickly, too.
Mr. Sulu?
But Sulu's gesture says he has no control of Helm, and Chekhov also shakes his head in helplessness. Kirk digests this. Then,
So, we're a sitting duck.
interior bird of prey, a data gauge, over Torg's shoulder.
Emergency power recharge is 40%, 50%. Ready for fire emergency 2.
Angle widens to include Krug, who raises his hand for pause and thought. Space. The two ships drift quietly. Back to scene.
Why haven't they finished us? They outgunned me 10-1. They have 400 in crew to my handful. Yet they sit there.
Perhaps they wish to take you prisoner.
They know I would die first.
My lord, enemy commander wishes a trust to confer.
Put him on screen. Study him well.
Angle favoring Klingon screen. The screen is a different configuration than we are used to. Kirk's image appears. We will intercut the planet and Enterprise as needed during following sequence.
This is Admiral James T. Kirk of the Federation Starship Enterprise.
On the bird of prey, Krug's reaction to Kirk's face.
So, the Genesis commander himself.
By violation of treaty between the Federation and Klingon Empire, your presence here is an act of war. You have 2 minutes to surrender your crew and your vessel, or we will destroy you.
He's hiding something. We may have dealt him a more serious blow than I thought.
How can you tell that?
I trust my instincts. Admiral Kirk, this is your opponent speaking.
Interior Enterprise bridge. Only Krug's voice is heard here and on the planet below.
Do not lecture me about treaty violations. The Federation, in creating an ultimate weapon, has become a gang of intergalactic criminals. It is not I who will surrender, it is you.
Damn, please. Don't fight it. Okay.
On the planet below, I have 3 prisoners with a team who developed your doomsday weapon. If you do not surrender immediately, I will execute them, one at a time, as enemies of galactic peace.
Who is this? How dare you?
Who am I is not important. That I have them is. I will let you speak to them.
Exterior Genesis, the Klingon camp. As Krug's voice barks a Klingon order over the communicator, Saavik, David, and the Vulcan are roused to their feet by the Klingons and assembled in a line. The sergeant thrusts the communicator in front of Saavik, pokes her to make his command clear. She leans into the communicator, controlling carefully.
Admiral, this is Lieutenant Saavik.
Saavik, is David with you?
Yes, he is. And someone else. Vulcan scientists of your acquaintance.
This Vulcan, is he alive?
He is not himself, but he lives. He is subject to rapid aging, like this unstable planet.
The sergeant has had enough with her long-windedness, pulls the communicator and thrusts it in front of David.
Hello, sir. It's David.
David. Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. I should have known you'd come. Savik's right. This planet is unstable. It's going to destroy itself in a matter of hours.
David, what went wrong?
I went wrong.
A beat.
David, I don't understand.
I'm sorry, sir. Just don't surrender. Genesis doesn't work. I can't believe they'll kill us for it.
But a Klingon crew member has cut David off the air. Interior Enterprise bridge, and static fills the speakers on board.
David? David!
Admiral, your young friend is mistaken. I meant what I said. And now, to show my intentions are sincere, we're going to kill one of the prisoners.
Wait, give me a chance!
Kill one of them. I don't care which.
The planet. The sergeant has received the order. He draws a distinctive Klingon dagger, frightening to behold, as Kirk's voice is heard, indistinctly protesting over the communicator. The sergeant walks behind the assembled line of the 3 prisoners, the Vulcan youth, Saavik, and David. It is like a game of Russian roulette. We do not know where the blow will fall. Then, the sergeant has picked his victim and raises his dagger back to strike. Angle. It is Saavik he intends to kill. David, his face curled in rage, leaps forward, grabs the man's arm. The struggle is short. David takes a knife in the chest. Interior Enterprise bridge. The cry of pain is heard on the speakers. There is a horrible silence that follows.
Saavik. David.
At last, we hear the shaken voice of Saavik.
Admiral. David is dead.
There is none of these 3 Kirk would have parted with, but David. He fights back the horror as Bones steps to his side. but finally he must let it go.
You Klingon bastard! You've killed my son!
Krug takes this news with a blink of triumph, calmly.
There are 2 more prisoners, Admiral. Do you want them killed too? Surrender your vessel.
All right, damn you, all right. Give me a minute to inform my crew.
Bird of prey. Krug, pleased his gambit has worked, is magnanimous.
I give you 2 minutes for you and your gallant crew. Take every last man, form a boarding party, armed heavily.
They outnumber us, my lord.
We are Klingons! Once you control the ship, I will transfer my flag there, and we will take Genesis from their own memory banks.
Enterprise bridge. The crew has come forward to stand behind Kirk's command chair. Kirk is staring ahead, his eyes glazed.
Jim, you okay?
Kirk turns to face McCoy. His face is hollow, his eyes staring. Then, in a voice strained with grief,
Sulu, what is the crew complement of the bird of prey?
about a dozen officers and men.
Some on the planet.
He turns to them, his voice hoarse.
I swear to you, we're not finished yet.
We never have been, Jim.
Bones, you and Sulu to the transporter room. The rest with me. We have a job to do.
As the individuals respond to orders, push to Kirk as he presses his comm button.
Commander, Klingon vessel. Stand by to board this ship on my next signal.
No tricks, Kirk. You have 1 minute.
No tricks. Looking forward to meeting you.
Kirk out. He steps to the science station as Chekhov and Scotty gather around. He leans in, presses a comm button.
Computer, destruct sequence 1, code 1-1-A.
Interior, bird of prey. Krug is inspecting the 6-man landing party assembled by Torg. They are loaded down with weapons. Krug raises his arm and points.
To the transporter room. Success.
Success.
Oh, interior Enterprise bridge.
Computer, this is Commander Pavel Chekhov, acting science officer. Destruct sequence 2, code 1-A, 2B.
Scotty steps in now.
Computer, this is Commander Scott, Chief Engineering Officer. Destruct sequence 3, code 1B, 2B, 3.
Destruct sequence completed and engaged. Awaiting final code for 1-minute countdown. A moment among them. Then,
Code 000, destruct 0.
1 minute, 59 seconds, 58, 57. And they hurry out. Camera moves to a visual display which is counting in sync with the computer voice. Bird of prey bridge. Krug, alone with Maltz, checks time impatiently, hits a talk button.
Kirk, your time runs out. Report.
Interior Enterprise corridor. Kirk, Scotty, Chekhov, running. Interior Enterprise transporter room. As Kirk, Scotty, and Chekhov hurry in, Kirk stops as the others move off screen.
Everything set?
Yes, sir. Hurry.
Commander Klingon vessel. We are energizing transporter beam. Now.
As the electronic windup begins, Bird of Prey bridge.
Transporter, stand by.
Enterprise transporter room. As the power whine increases, Kirk steps on one of the transporter pods, joining Scotty, McCoy, Sulu, and Chekhov. After a few endless seconds, they begin to dematerialize and vanish. There is a flicker, a pause. Are they returning? Have they been blocked? No. The second beam effect materializes the Klingon landing party. They pause guardedly, phasers drawn. Then, led by Torg, they start out. We are faintly aware of a soft computer voice counting off seconds. Bird of prey bridge. Krug waits impatiently. Patiently. Interior Enterprise corridor. The Klingon landing party enters, proceeds cautiously. Interior bridge, Enterprise. It is deserted, except for the soft computer voice. 22, 21, 20. The sliding door opens and Torg leads the Klingons in, weapons drawn. They check out the bridge as the voice continues faintly, unobserved by the Klingons. Then Torg pulls out his communicator.
My lord, the ship appears to be deserted.
How can this be? They're hiding.
Yes, sir, but the bridge appears to be run by a computer. It is the only thing speaking.
Speaking? Let me hear.
Torg puts his communicator close to the computer's panel speaker, and the voice is quite loud now. 6, 5, 4, 3.
Get out! Get out of there! Get out!
Torg and his men are baffled by Krug's distress when a sudden series of explosions engulf the bridge and interior Enterprise corridor. A fireball streaks through the empty companionway. Exterior Enterprise, exterior planet, interior bird of prey. Series of shots. The great ship is wrecked by an explosion, then another, and another in a chain of designed destruction. The skin of the circular section ruptures, cracks open like an arid desert. The star drive section bursts and trembles. Krug watching in frustrated rage. Like a fiery comet, Enterprise falls gracefully out of orbit, burning up as she plunges toward her death. Saavik, the young Vulcan, watching. She uncertain. He staring blankly. We see Enterprise in the distance, a small fireball in the outer edge of the Genesis atmosphere. Exterior Genesis planet, Kirk's Landing. The comet-like death of Enterprise in the distance is being watched by a silhouetted group as the sun sets. Reverse angle, twilight. The 5 survivors of Enterprise, temporarily safe, watch in awe and grief as their home of 20 years dies in the ominous sky beyond. On each face, the light left by Enterprise flickers, then at last is gone. Kirk watches with hollowed eyes.
My God, Bones. What have I done?
What you had to do, what you always do, turn death into a fighting chance to live. You hear me, Jim?
Kirk takes a deep breath, nods his understanding to McCoy. Even as the earth trembles and Sulu's tricorder begins to go a little wild. Sir, planet core readings unstable, changing rapidly.
What about surface life signs?
Close. There.
Come on.
They hurry off in the direction Sulu has pointed, as the growls and rumbles of the planet begin to accelerate. Night is falling. Bird of Prey Bridge on Officer Maltz. He's watching something off-screen with apprehension. Widened to reveal Krug in foreground, going through his own crisis. An agony of self-loathing. After a moment.
My lord, what are your orders?
I underestimated him. He did the one thing I didn't anticipate. He destroyed himself.
Sir, may I intervene?
Killing his son was stupid. It'd make Kirk willing to die.
We still have the prisoners, sir. Perhaps there's information?
They are useless. It was Kirk I needed, and I let him slip away.
But surely our mission has not failed.
Our mission is over. I have failed. A human has been bolder and more ruthless than I. That is the real dishonor.
As Maltz watches him uncertainly. Exterior, the Klingon camp, night. The 2 Klingons guard the seated Saavik. Spock is isolated some distance away. The death rumblings of the planet begin to increase with each moment. The sky beyond occasionally lights with awesome flashes of electrical energy. The ground shakes in unpredictable spurts. Suddenly, a tree vaults upward, as if pushed from its place by a force below. The tree groans and crashes towards the ground, the Klingons leaping out of its way. Favoring Saavik. As the 2 Klingons are distracted and the planet's agony continues, Saavik slips away from them toward Spock. Spock. He is seated, back to us. His aging spasms have begun, and with each earth rumble of the planet, he suffers. The Klingons, concerned about their own problems, and the silence from their ship. The sergeant pulls his communicator.
Lord Commander, this place is destructing. What are your orders?
Static crackles.
My lord, recommend beaming up ourselves and the prisoners.
While he waits for an answer, his eyes catches Saavik's progress towards Spock. He calls this to his subordinate's attention with a guttural grunt, and the second Klingon hurries off to correct the situation. Angle, Saavik and Spock. As she nears the suffering Vulcan, the Klingon reaches her, and with a strong arm hurls her easily aside. The ground rumbles again. The Vulcan cries out. The Klingon, fascinated by the Vulcan's behavior, approaches, then reaches out towards him. You're muted.
No, don't touch him.
The Klingon ignores. He puts his hand on the Vulcan, and for his trouble, in a blur of action, gets grabbed, whacked, and hurled through the air by a burst of Vulcan strength. The Klingon lands at the base of the gnarled tree and lies quite still, his neck broken. Angle, the Klingon sergeant, reacts in shock to what has happened, draws his phaser, all business now as he studies the Vulcan, hands over his face as he twists in pain. He emits a long, terrible cry, the cry we've heard but never seen. Exterior grotesque forest, fast tracking shot. Kirk and the crew are coming to the rescue, running amid the tremors and the flashes of light, whipped by wind and flailing trees. As the cry is heard through the wind, they pull up, listening, and cry again, close by. Kirk leads them out on the run. The Klingon camp, series of shots. Saavik has returned to try to help Spock. She holds him now as his spasms continue. The sergeant comes forward, phaser in hand, until he reaches the Vulcan, held by Saavik. The Klingon stops, mesmerized. He stares at young Spock over Saavik's shoulder. His features are changing before our eyes, his face distending. Saavik, looking back at the Klingon, clutches the agonized Spock to her, trying in some way to protect him. The sergeant, he's frightened. He reflexively raises his phaser. Angle, the clearing's edge. The flash of lightning illuminates the arrival of Kirk and the crew. Kirk, phaser leveled.
Don't move.
The Klingon whirls to face the new threat, whips his phaser towards Kirk, but Kirk fires a stun blast. Angle, including the Klingon. The stun waves zip at the Klingon, strike him with spectacular force, causing him to somersault through the air, and then landing, lie still. Back to scene. Kirk lowers his phaser. He and the others stare at Saavik, holding the now immobile Spock. The Enterprise family reacts. With Kirk and Bones leading, they rush to Saavik. Angle at Spock and Saavik. Kirk and the others have pulled up. Spock is now comatose, breathing with labored sighs. We cannot see his face, cradled in Saavik's comforting embrace, but Saavik is looking up at Kirk with dazed eyes.
Bones.
McCoy crosses quickly, takes the Vulcan's form from Saavik as she rises to Kirk.
Oh, Admiral.
Even a half Vulcan has a breaking point. She sags for just a moment.
Easy, Saavik. It's all right.
As he holds Saavik, his eyes flick over her shoulder to Kirk's POV. Unnoticed up to now, half covered by leaves, the body of David, Kirk's fallen son. Back to scene. He reacts. Then, with a last comforting hug to Saavik, he breaks the embrace and heads slowly for David's body. She watches him exit shot. Angle, David's body. Widen to admit Kirk as he enters, kneels. He reaches out, touches his son's brow, wipes a leaf away.
My son. To thee no star be dark, both heaven and earth. Friend thee forever.
Saavik has come up behind him. She hangs back. Then Kirk rises, aware of her presence.
What happened?
He gave his life to save us. That is all I know.
Jim,
Kirk runs, hurries out of shot, favoring McCoy and Spock. With the crew gathered around, McCoy is scanning the Vulcan's body, soothing his fevered brow. We cannot see Spock's face, but Kirk as he enters and kneels beside McCoy. He reacts, mesmerized by what he sees.
Bones.
rapid aging, all genetic functions highly accelerated.
And his mind?
It's a void. It would seem, Admiral, that I've got all his marbles.
Is there anything we can do?
Only one thing, sir. Get him off this planet. His aging is part of what's going on around us.
There's a lightning flash and an earth tremor and a moan from Spock. Kirk responds, rises and crosses out of shot, angle with Kirk. As he moves, stops, wrestling with the urgency of what must be done. Then deciding, he whips out his communicator.
Klingon Commander, this is Admiral James T. Kirk. I am alive and well on the planet's surface.
Back to Kirk.
I know this will come as a pleasant surprise to you, but you see our ship was the victim of an unfortunate accident. Sorry about your crew, old boy, but c'est la vie, as we say on Earth.
A lightning flash makes him cover his eyes. Then,
well, I'm waiting for you. What is your answer? I have what you want. I have the secret of Genesis, but you'll have to bring us up there to get it. Do you hear me?
more static. Kirk's ploy has apparently failed. He sags a bit, starts back toward the crew, when another series of flashes blind them all as the planet rumbles with sound and fury and Spock moans. Then Kirk and crew do not see what to do. In the near distance, amid the flashings, a figure is revealed, lost in the confusion. It is Krug, phaser in hand.
Drop all weapons.
Angle favoring Kirk and crew. Past Krug. Kirk and the others look up in shock, then rise slowly, hands in the air. Krug moves closer, pointing.
Over there. All but Kirk.
The group moves to a cleared space indicated, leaving Spock's form behind.
Maltz, prisoners are at beam coordinates. Stand by.
Take the Vulcan too.
No,
But why?
because you wish it. Maltz, Chobichu.
Beam effect. McCoy, Scotty, Sulu, Chekhov, and Savick disappear in the beam effect and are gone. Back to scene, Kirk and Krug. A flash of lightning, a movement of Earth, the sudden hiss of a fissure of steam through the surface, and the two men face each other, shouting above the planet noises.
Genesis. I want it.
Beam the Vulcan up and we'll talk.
Give me what I want, and I'll consider it.
You fool, look around you. This planet is destroying itself.
Yes. Exhilarating, isn't it?
If we don't help each other, we'll all die here.
Perfect. That's the way it shall be. Give me Genesis.
Suddenly, the very ground on which he stands seems to become an elevator. He is carried rapidly upward on a craggy rock formation which bursts upward out of the ground. Krug tumbles, and Kirk seizes the opportunity. The fight, series of shots. Kirk leaps upon Krug, and they roll and struggle on the churning, erupting ground. They are evenly matched. Kirk's opening momentum holds until Krug's great size begins to turn the tide. He takes temporary command with swift, vicious kicks and punches. Kirk is down. Krug now looks around for his phaser, starts for it, but Kirk, in a series of ground rolls, trips Krug up with his legs and comes on. The off-balance Krug now takes a series of punches from Kirk, which make him reel backward near the edge of the promontory. A final blow from Kirk forces Krug over the edge, and he tumbles and rolls down the 15-foot slope. Kirk peers over the edge to see Kirk's POV. Krug has landed on a level precipice about 15 feet in diameter. Beyond that is an endless drop into a chasm, the bottom of which has become a glowing red river of lava. On the precipice, up-angled, as Krug rises to his feet, Kirk, without hesitation, soars into the air from above and dives upon Krug, the momentum of the dive taking both men right to the edge of the final drop. They work their way to their feet and continue the struggle anew, pieces of the rock edge slipping away under their feet as they scuffle. Kirk is winning until, with a burst of energy, Krug shoves Kirk hard and Kirk slams into a wall of stone, dazed. Krug has him, but as he starts to step forward, the edge of the rock he is standing on starts to slip, full the precipice. Kirk on the left against the wall, Krug on the right, on the edge. Krug is dropping lower. The rock formation he's on now breaks away, carrying him outward.
Jump, damn you!
Krug does jump forward at the last possible instant as the rock falls away. He leaps to the new edge of the precipice, where Krug lands precariously, hanging on almost by his fingernails. He's holding on as best he can, his legs flailing, unable to gain any purchase to boost him up. Kirk, recovering his own strength, sees Krug in this helpless situation. He comes forward to the edge, kneels over the Klingon.
Give me your hand and we both live. Don't be a fool. Give me your hand.
Krug looks down, measuring the terror below as if considering, then with sudden and explosive strength, vaults upward, making a desperate grab for Kirk. He has a leg. Suddenly, Kirk is fighting not to be pulled over the edge. He's losing that fight, till he lashes out with a blow. The Klingon's grip slips, yet he hangs on tenaciously until, with a cry of rage,
I have had enough of you.
Kirk turns and kicks Krug mightily, and the Klingon begins his fall, wide down angled shot. Kirk in foreground watches as Krug tumbles endlessly toward the steaming red-hot lava beds below. On Kirk. He turns now to his ultimate problem. The planet is caving in around him. He starts to scramble up the steep slope back to the promontory where, Spock, his inert body lies, surrounded by new bursts of steam from the cracking earth. Angle Kirk. Behind him, we see the first signs of a fast-rising fireball sun. He claws his way back to the top level and races over to Spock's fallen form. He kneels and turns the body over to see, past Kirk to Spock. We see the face at last. It is Spock, at the age he died. But he is also a haggard, ravaged shell of a being, almost again dead from the agonies of change, and even now, with soft, frightening sounds, giving indications of the final changes that lie just ahead. Kirk, sun larger behind him. Amid the death knell of this place, Kirk knows it is now or never. A desperate idea forms. With determination, he picks Spock up and shoulders him. Then, drawing his communicator, he flips it open and takes his best shot.
Maltz, activate beam.
There is a moment of uncertainty. Kirk is about to try again when the Klingon beam sound begins and beam up effect. Amid the groans, flashes, and hisses of steam and falling debris, Kirk, carrying Spock, dematerializes in the Klingon beam, even as the sun appears to be coming closer. Master, the deserted planet. And closer still, casting yellow-white light over the disintegrating surface. Interior bird of prey. The doors whoosh open, and Kirk, carrying the inert Spock, steps out, phaser at the ready. Reverse, including Kirk. Maltz on the captain's deck, the Enterprise prisoners below. Maltz turns, expecting Krug, and is clearly astonished. As he raises his hands, Kirk steps forward.
How many more?
Just him, sir.
Bones, help Spock. Everyone else, find a station.
A flurry of activity as the crew moves into position in the strange yet familiar bridge. McCoy takes Spock from Kirk, guides him out of scene. And Savick takes Maltz's phaser and steps back to Maltz.
You, help us or die.
I do not deserve to live.
Fine, I'll kill you later. Let's get out of here.
And so saying, he dashes out of shot, followed by Savick. The Klingon can only stare in confusion. Space, the Genesis planet. We are near her now erupting surface. Flames shoot out. Beyond, her son waits. Former friend, now ready to accept the planet in death. Bridge, bird of prey. Kirk in command, Sulu and Savick on nearby stations. They are confronted by familiar tools, but baffling zymology.
Anyone here speak Klingon?
No one does.
I'll take your best shot.
Engineering panel. Scotty hunched over the console. Chekhov hunched over him.
If you can bypass into the module.
Oh, fine, but where's the damn antimatter inducer?
This? No. This.
This or nothing.
Scotty makes several adjustments, presses some buttons, then, with a deep breath, moves a sliding handle forward. A high whine starts, wavers, then grows robust. Bridge. Sulu responds to the panel indicator. If I read this right, sir, we have full power.
Go, Sulu.
Sulu impels the throttle device. Space, bird of prey. Turning gracefully, she gains speed, passes camera, and heads for the stars with increasing velocity, braking to warp speed as Space, Genesis and her son. The planet is now heading toward the sun. We watch in wonder as she gains speed and becomes a glazing fireball, plummeting spectacularly to her own destruction. Bridge, bird of prey. The mood is subdued, somber.
The Genesis planet is gone.
Goodbye, David.
We are clear and free to navigate.
Best speed to Vulcan, Mr. Chekhov. Take the prisoners below.
Aye, sir.
As he starts to.
Wait, you said you would kill me.
I lied.
At Kirk's gesture, Chekhov leads Maltz out. Kirk turns back to his panel. Estimating Vulcan at 0.19er. Camera moves in to Kirk and Savick.
Savick. Message to Ambassador Sarek. Tell him we bring McCoy and a living Spock. Ask him to prepare for the Contra ritual.
Savick raises an eyebrow.
Yes, Admiral, but that may not be possible.
What? What are you saying?
The Contra ritual is meant to deposit Spock's consciousness in the Hall of Ancient Thought, not in his body.
But we have Spock alive. It's more than we bargained for.
Or less. What you described is called Fall Torpan. The elders may choose not to attempt it.
And if they don't, what will happen to Spock?
It is very dangerous. He will remain always as he is.
As Kirk wrestles with the horror of this, we see, Interior bird of prey, sick bay. Close, Spock. He is pale, comatose, fragile looking. Widen as Bones passes a scanner over the form. The scanner's sound is feeble. McCoy stops in frustration, checks Spock's eyes, then turns back wearily. Softly, as camera begins to arc around them.
Fuck. I've done everything I know to do. Help me. You struck me with it. For God's sake, teach me what to do with it. I never thought I'd say this to you, but it seems I've missed you. And I couldn't bear to lose you again.
He lowers his head in helpless grief on the form of the unmoving Spock, and camera's arc has revealed Kirk standing, watching. Kirk steps forward now, puts his hand gently on McCoy, then on Spock. 3 lives, intertwined for so long. Space, the planet Vulcan. Hold. The roar of an unseen spaceship is heard, and the bird of prey enters shot, heading toward Vulcan. Interior bridge, bird of prey. As Kirk enters. The planet Vulcan. In hailing distance, sir.
Savick, send to Ambassador Sarek. Tell him we're coming in.
Exterior, the Vulcan temple area. High full angle, dusk. Looking down on the awesome mountainous landscape with a temple complex on a high, forbidding peak, slow zoom in to match. Exterior temple area, up-angled, close, Sarek, dusk. Zooming at comparable speed to a close-up of Spock's father.
On approach, permission to land.
Permission granted. Tell Kirk we'll be ready.
Camera pans now from Sarek to reveal Uhura in uniform.
I'll send the message, sir.
Exterior Vulcan bird of prey. At impulse power, approach speed. Her wings configuration into atmospheric lift generating airfoils. She glides. Interior bird of prey.
Sulu, we're on manual.
It's been a while, sir. Here we go. Retro thrusters. Exterior Vulcan bird of prey, dusk. As the ship descends slowly and gracefully to a soft landing in the temple area, retros kicking dust. Interior bird of prey. As energizers wind down, Kirk hits comm.
Bones, get him offloaded.
Exterior Vulcan landing area. Close in, bird of prey. As a ramp section of the plane hisses and lowers to the ground, Spock is carried down on a litter borne by his friends. As they reach the bottom, Kirk is in the foreground and looks in amazement to see. POV. The great hill to the temple is lined with hundreds of Vulcans, many with torches. It is most impressive. Back to Kirk, McCoy, Savick.
My God.
Much is at stake.
Then Kirk sees something else, reacts as Uhura crosses to the crew, is hugged by Kirk. Her eyes are moist with emotion as
Sarek is waiting above.
Kirk nods as Uhura falls into place behind him, helping to carry Spock's form with the others. They now carry Spock out of scene as we begin to hear ritual chants and music in the distance. Exterior Vulcan Hill, series of shots, night. The procession is in progress through a path lined on both sides by simply robed Vulcans of all ages. Spock's form makes passage to stately music. Various shots. Vulcans responding to Spock's passage. Feature. A small girl releases herself from her father's grip and moves alongside the body, makes the Vulcan salute, and whispers with great solemnity.
Live long and prosper, Spock.
Reaction cuts from Kirk and the others, and we dissolve to exterior Vulcan, upper level of temple area, series of shots. Sarek, some dignitaries, and 6 Vulcan women, tall and stately, are waiting. Musicians are close by now. As the Enterprise group reaches Sarek, he steps forward to meet them. Now a silence falls. Sarek stands at his son's head and gently places his 2 hands on Spock's face. When he is done, he looks at Kirk and McCoy. They search his face for some indication of hope, but Sarek is expressionless. He steps back now, gestures. The Vulcan women come forward and take Spock from his friends. As the transfer is completed, the procession begins again toward the temple entry. Sarek falls in behind the body. Kirk and his group follow him. Dissolve to interior Vulcan temple, series of shots. The Hall of Ancient Thought, lined with massive heads of stone, dolly with the procession as an amazing thing takes place. As Spock's body moves, now seen, now blocked by passing forms, we realize the bearer's hands are no longer under the body, but are on top of it. The magic of this moment is not lost on Kirk, Bones, and the others as we dissolve to exterior Vulcan altar area, series of shots. A great saucer-shaped platform under the Vulcan sky, with an altar at the far end. The dramatic figure of a Vulcan priestess stands there. Rising into the air behind her is an elegant version of the Vulcan hand salute shaped in gleaming metal. The bearers continue with Spock toward the altar, but Sarek stops here on the threshold and stops Kirk and group.
This is where you will wait.
Sarek turns to face the altar. Spock's body is deposited there to ritual music. Then the powerful chant of the High Priestess begins. Kirk and McCoy and the others stare in awe at what is happening as the priestess's chant flows over them. Then the chant ends. Sarek steps forward. A horn sounds. Then,
Sarek, child of Skan, child of Solkar, the body of your son breathes still. What is your wish?
I ask for Faltor Pan, the refusion.
What you seek has not been done since the ages past, and then only in legend. Your request is not logical.
Forgive me, Tlar. My logic falters where my son is concerned.
she looks at him for a long moment. Then,
Who is the keeper of Katra?
as Sarek's nod and Kirk's urgent look, Bones replies uncertainly.
I am McCoy, Leonard H., son of David.
McCoy, son of David, since thou art human, we cannot expect thee to understand fully what Sarek has requested. The circumstances are extraordinary. Spock's body lives. Spock's body lives. With your approval, we shall use all our powers to return his body, that which you possess, his essence. But McCoy, you must now be warned. The danger to thyself is as grave as the danger to Spock. You must make the choice.
I choose the danger. Hell of a time to ask.
Bring him forward.
As Sarek leads Bones toward the altar, we hold on Kirk's new apprehension. The altar, intercut with Kirk and crew. Sarek and McCoy reach the altar, and Sarek departs. The priestess intones another short chant, punctuated by gongs and musical emphatics. Then chant and music stop, and we hear only the gentle sound of the wind and far-off temple chimes. She places a hand on Bones's face, another on Spock's. Then eerily,
All that can be done shall be done, though it take full turn of the Vulcan sun.
soft music now. She begins drifting into a trance-like mind meld, chanting softly, almost inaudibly. Close on McCoy and Spock, their eyes are closed. A sense of kinetic energy somehow passing between them. The crew of the Enterprise, each and all, waiting. Full shot from above. The great altar area, the land and valley beyond. Lightning streaks the sky. Close, Kirk, slow move in. The lightning flashes are reflected in his face as we move slowly in on his concerned face, and very slowly, long dissolve to exterior Vulcan temple area. High full shot, sunrise. The early morning sun casts a different, long-shadowed, hot look on the altar and threshold. Outside the altar, Kirk, the crew. From where they had watched from last night, here they have waited, lain down. They are beginning to stir when the sound of a gong brings them fully awake. They rise, bleary-eyed, to see their POV toward the altar. The high priestess, exhausted, is being carried out of the altar area on a sedan chair. As she leaves, Sarek, supporting a weary McCoy, heads a procession of hooded robed priests. Among them, we now see a hooded robed figure all in white. The procession is passing Kirk's party, while Kirk and the crew can only stare in uncertainty. Then, Sarek signals the others to continue while he, with McCoy, breaks off and comes to Kirk. Kirk and crew. They wait now as Bones, leaning on Sarek, enters shot.
Bones.
All right. I'm all right, Jim.
Sulu and Scotty reach for him, help support him. He is weakened, but otherwise all right. Kirk gestures toward the white-robed figure walking slowly away.
What about Spock?
I'm not sure. Only time will answer. Kirk, I thank you. What you have done is,
What I have done, I had to do.
but at what cost? Your ship, your son.
If I hadn't tried, the cost would have been my soul.
Sarek looks at him with deep admiration, then turns and heads back to the group of priests. The wind blows, and Kirk and group. They are now looking into the low sun, shading their eyes for a last look at the white-robed figure. POV Sarek and group, long lens. They are moving slowly away when suddenly the white-robed figure stops, turns toward the Enterprise group. Close, the white hood. We cannot see the features beneath, but we know the figure is staring. After a moment, the figure starts back to the Enterprise group. As two priests reach to stop him, they are stayed by Sarek, who now watches with interest. Kirk and group, watching with held breath as the white-robed figure walks steadily to them, reaches them. The figure, backlit, the wind whips his garment. Now he lowers his hood. We see Spock, a radiant, gentled Spock. His age is as we have known it, his hair, his face, the same. He would look at peace except for the eyes, which remain hollow, filled with questions and uncertainties. Seen various angles. The Enterprise crew, each of them, stares back at Spock as subjective camera pans past them slowly. Each makes his own effort to be remembered, but Spock remains churning, but uncertain. Then he looks hardest at all at Kirk. The wind whips his hair. Something triggers in Spock. He steps forward, and then, in an odd, rusty voice,
I know you. Do I not?
Yes. And I know you.
My father says you have been my friend. You came back for me.
You would have done the same for me.
Why would you do this?
Because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
Spock stares at him. A vague connection has been made, but not enough. Spock turns away in uncertainty, begins walking back to the group he left. Kirk raises his helpless hand after Spock, wondering what he might have said, should have said, when suddenly Spock stops, back to Kirk. He closes his eyes, looks to the sky, and like someone who has found a piece of a puzzle, he says,
I have been, and ever shall be, your friend.
Kirk steps forward a few steps, hushed, encouraging.
Yes. Yes, Spock.
The ship, out of danger.
You saved the ship, Spock. You saved us all, don't you remember?
There is an odd moment after Kirk's impassioned speech. Spock cocks his head as if some vital piece of information had just clicked into place.
Jim. Your name is Jim.
Kirk's eyes well with tears. He nods his head.
Yes.
Their eyes are locked together. Spock gives a little nod of satisfaction, as if knowing he has taken the first of many steps. He turns to share this with McCoy, and then with them all. We have the feeling that Spock has come back to his family, and to us. On Enterprise family, they have gathered round Kirk now, beaming at Spock through their tears and their joy, knowing they all have a future together. As the camera pulls up and back from this, we roll end credits and fade out.
Oh, yay! Oh my god, I loved it. Everybody did a wonderful job. Like tears at the end. Again, one of my favorite Star Trek movies. We already did episode 4 because that is my favorite Star Trek movie. So if you want to watch the next in the saga, tune to that. And then probably sometime soon we'll be doing The Final Frontier. So tune in next time. Thanks for watching.